Cite global crude trends and disruptions. For the common man, it's turning into a daily struggle at the pump. And with this uncertainty still looming over global oil supply, the pressure on household budgets is only expected to grow in the days ahead. More in this report.
Fuel shock on the streets. Private refiner Naira Energy hikes petrol and diesel prices, pinching customers. Naira Energy has raised petrol prices by 5 rupees per litre and diesel by 3 rupees, pushing petrol beyond the rupees 100 mark.
अभी तक 94 रुपए 64 पैसे था और आज 99 रुपए 64 पैसे हो गया।
5 रुपए 30 पैसे बढ़े।
5 रुपए केवल।
क्या लग रहा है कुछ असर सेल पे देखने को मिला इसका?
सेल तो सर बड़ी ही है।
In some outlets, restrictions have kicked in. Only 10 litres per vehicle, as supply concerns grow amid refinery maintenance and global disruptions.
पब्लिक के लिए बिल्कुल परेशानी की बात है। बाइक वाले आ रहे, स्कूटी अपनी लेकर के आ रहे तो तेल मिल नहीं रहा है, कार लेकर के आ रहे तो तेल मिल रहा है, उसमें भी कंडीशन लग रही है कि 10 लीटर ही देंगे या 12 लीटर ही देंगे। हमें कहीं बाहर जाना होगा, कैसे उसका अरेंज होगा?
फ्यूल के क्राइसिस भी हो रहे हैं।
बिल्कुल हो रहा है, फ्यूल के क्राइसिस बिल्कुल हो रहा है और उस पर जो कि नहीं होना चाहिए। मान लीजिए किसी को बाहर जाना, किसी घर पे कोई समस्या है, आदमी कैसे जाएगा? अगर ये सारी चीज़ें तो पहले से अरेंज करनी चाहिए। पहले से आप एक बार पब्लिक को इंडिकेट करेंगे कि हाँ 10 दिन 15 दिन बाद ये समस्याएं आएंगी तो पब्लिक उस हिसाब से प्रिपेयर होगी ना।
Behind the hike, soaring global crude prices and disruptions in supply routes.
ये रेट में 12 बजे के बाद का है।
12 बजे के बाद।
हाँ।
कितने रुपए बढ़ाए गए?
5 रुपये।
और डीजल में?
3 रुपये।
क्या उसके बाद से यहाँ पर भीड़ है या सन्नाटा?
नहीं, भीड़ लगी रहती है। हाँ।
क्या फ्यूल कम आ रहा है पीछे से, ऐसा है?
हाँ, फ्यूल कम तो आ ही रहा है। हाँ।
आगे के हालात और खराब हो सकते हैं?
अभी भी हम तो
हाँ 30 लीटर का है। हाँ 30 लीटर पेट्रोल है और 160 लीटर डीजल।
इसके ऊपर नहीं दे सकते?
नहीं, उसके ऊपर।
While Naira assures no major supply disruption, the reality on the ground tells a more tense story. Shortages, caps and rising frustration.
बिल्कुल अपने प्रधानमंत्री के देखते हो, जो उनके जो है नियम होंगे वो हम पे सब पे जो है अप्लाई होंगे और हम मानेंगे।
With global tension pushing oil above $100 a barrel, the pressure is mounting and customers are paying the price.
तो मौजूद है कानपुर में। आपको अगर दिखाएं तो 5 रुपए 30 पैसे जो तकरीबन रेट है वो पेट्रोल का बढ़ाया गया है। इसके साथ ही आज सुबह से ये जो रेट है वो इम्प्लीमेंट कर दिए गए हैं। भारत की जो प्राइवेट एनर्जी कंपनी है नायरा, उसने ये रेट बढ़ाए हैं।
As fuel prices rise and supplies tighten, the burden is clearly shifting to the common man. The big question, how long can this last?
All right, viewers, we're going to take you to the world of business where the Reliance Industry Limited on Thursday denied reports claiming it purchased around 50 lakh barrels of Iranian crude oil shortly after the United States eased certain restrictions on Iranian oil shipments. Calling these claims as baseless and misleading, India's largest refiner, Reliance Industry Limited, sources crude from multiple global suppliers to run its large refining operations. India's economic growth for the financial year 27 is now projected at 6.9%, down from an earlier forecast of 7.2%, as energy supply disruptions weigh on industrial production. An ICICI Bank report stated that the impact will be concentrated in March and April, with gradual easing expected in the following months, affecting the Q4 of the financial year 26 and Q1 of financial year 2027. Now, as India enters financial year 27 on April 1, 5 major regulatory changes will affect the citizens' finances and its daily routines. The new Income Tax Act 2025 replaces the 1961 law, simplifies tax terminology and raises the Section 87A rebate to a 60,000 rupees. PAN implications now require official date of birth documents, while ATM withdrawals and platinum card limits face stricter rules. Indian Railways doubles its no-refund cancellation window to 8 hours, and the LPG prices, despite Ujjwala subsidies, remain high. It added more pressure on household budgets. All right, India's Steel Ministry has sought help from the Petroleum Ministry to prevent steel plants from being hit by the ongoing LPG shortages. Amid the disrupted shipments from the Middle East caused by Iran war, officials said discussions are ongoing to manage the crisis and minimize impact on steel production. All right, we're getting a big breaking news. Iran for begging for a deal. Trump is claiming that Iran is desperate to make a deal with the US to end the war, and it has rejected its 15-point peace plan. Coming up after this short break.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
थोड़े में ज़्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा। सबका राजा आर्थिक मसाला।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ।
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाए जीरा सिम। MDH का जल जीरा, जीरा सिम।
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव
Good morning, viewers. You're watching Republic TV with me, Hina Sharma. Now, Donald Trump has proposed a 15-point peace plan to Iran, but Tehran has rejected it outrightly, saying that this is one-sided and only serves the interest of United States and Israel. We get you all the latest in the war in West Asia, but first, let's take a look at the headlines. Prime Minister Modi to hold virtual meeting with chief ministers on West Asia crisis today. PM Modi to attend the G7 summit to be hosted by France from 15th of June to 17th of June.
We're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal.
Donald Trump claims that Iran is desperate to make a deal with US to end the war a day after Tehran rejected his 15-point peace plan.
I'm so disappointed in NATO because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to. But they have an expression, a great expression, never forget. Can never forget.
Donald Trump says he is disappointed NATO did not cooperate with military operations in Iran. Pine gas carrying 45,000 metric tons of LPG expected to arrive at New Mangalore port today. And viewers, a big breaking news that we are tracking at this point in time. Iran launches 83rd wave of missile attacks on Israel. Iran also thanked the people of India, Spain, Germany and Pakistan. So this is the latest that we have. In fact, Iranian authorities thanking India for the condemnation of the attacks on the Iranian territory by United States and Israel, and also condemning, in fact, Iran also. But here we have Iran thanking India for cooperating and understanding the situation that Iran is, and calling for peace and dialogue in the West Asia war. Now remember, this comes after Prime Minister Narendra Modi has in fact reached out and called on to all the leaders, whether it's the Gulf nations, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, UAE, but also to Iranian regime and to also United States and Israel. So essentially, India is reaching out and calling for peace and dialogue with all the stakeholders in this war in West Asia that is now nearing a month, in fact. Of course, Donald Trump has proposed a peace plan. Prime Minister Modi is calling for peace and dialogue and cooperation, and of course upholding the international norms and do not carry out any sort of human rights violations in the war. So here Iran essentially thanking the people of India. And viewers, the war in West Asia is defined not just by firepower but also by strategy. While the US and its allies claim overwhelming military dominance, Iran's playbook is built on endurance, disruption and economic pressure. From missile strikes to maritime choke points, Tehran is signaling that it may not win conventionally, but it can make the cost of war unbearable. More in this report.
קדימה, המשימה החשובה, ביצוע סריקות. בואי לכל הרחוב, אני לא מאמין.
The conflict playing out in West Asia is a war Iran has been preparing for over 4 decades. The US and Israel claim they have degraded 90% of Iran's missile and drone capabilities.
Well, I think we're going to end it. I can't tell you for sure. You know, I don't like to say this. We've won this. This war has been won.
But Iran, not willing to negotiate, continues to strike, going for eye-to-eye attacks.
Tehran, you are fired. You are familiar with this sentence. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The central headquarters of Khatam al-Anbiya.
Iran hit Qatar's main gas facility in a direct response to an Israeli strike on South Pars. Then after the attack on Natanz nuclear site, Iran fired ballistic missiles that pierced Israel's defenses, hitting Arad and Dimona. But Iran's biggest weapon is not just missiles. It's the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point that handles 1/5 of the world's oil supply. Today, hundreds of ships remain stranded, global energy markets in turmoil, and insurance costs skyrocketing. This is Iran's asymmetric warfare, a strategy Tehran perfected since Iran-Iraq war. Iran has built a low-cost, high-impact warfare model using drones, mines, and proxy networks. Today, US officials believe at least a dozen mines are already deployed in Hormuz, with 5,000 more in reserve. These are cheap, hard to detect, but capable of paralyzing global trade. Iran has also shifted tactics from ballistic missiles to drone swarms. For every Iranian drone worth $20,000, US responds with a missile worth between $1.3 million to $4 million. Targets are no longer just military, but economic. Ports, refineries, and energy infrastructure across Gulf. This is Iran's core doctrine: survive and exhaust the enemy. The goal is not to win, but to make the war too costly for the US to continue.
And viewers, we are getting another big breaking news where IDF has carried out a wide-scale wave of strikes targeting Tehran, the capital of Iran. Now, this comes after Iran, in fact, attacked Oroth Rabin power station in Israel, which is one of the largest, in fact, largest power plant located in Israel. So, fresh strikes carried out by Israel. Now, remember, this comes after a halt in strikes was announced by Donald Trump. But we have this front between Iran and Israel open here, where Israel is continuing its strikes on key infrastructure in Iran. Iran, in fact, hitting the heart of Iran, which is the capital city of Tehran. Comes right after a power plant, in fact, was attacked in Israel. Also comes after Donald Trump threatened Iran on attacks on power plants in Iran. And in fact, Iran now targeting power plants and Israel retaliating against these threats that are now being given by United States. Israel's largest power plant was hit, and these strikes, the retaliatory strikes being carried out by Israel after those strikes. Now, IDF launching a fresh wave of strikes on Iran comes as the tensions in West Asia continue to remain. And in fact, we are about to complete a month in this war in West Asia with various stakeholders and decimation of the key infrastructure located in various countries, whether it's Israel, Iran, or in fact the United States also continuing to talk about the negotiations which Tehran has rejected so far, rejected the 15-point peace plan. And these are the fresh strikes that we are seeing. So you have these visuals, in fact, of explosions taking place in Tehran. And this is coming as IDF released a statement talking about the fresh wave of strikes. And viewers, we have another big breaking news coming in where US Central Command has released a statement saying that they are maintaining the Patriot missile interceptors, in fact, helping maintain the most extensive air defense umbrella in the Middle East. So CENTCOM posts images of Patriot air defense systems saying that Patriot is an extensive air defense umbrella which is helping in the war in Middle East and of course defending the strikes that are taking place in this war. So US Central Command essentially talking about how its defenses remain in its place, posting images of Patriot air defense. Now remember viewers, this also comes after multiple US assets, and in fact multiple aircraft, whether you talk about F-35, these assets, essential and very crucial key assets of the United States, were hit by Iran, giving a huge dent to the US defenses, and now US essentially releasing these images of Patriot air defenses, of course a Marquet air defense system of United States, and saying that these air defenses will protect the strikes that are taking place from Iran on various Gulf nations. So this is the fresh post by US Central Command. Now remember, even as Donald Trump talks about the peace plan, the deployment of forces in the Middle East remains. In fact, we have seen reports, multiple reports of thousands of troops, in fact, deployed in the Middle East, and key defense systems and equipment being transferred to the Middle East, and especially near the Strait of Hormuz. And now viewers, talking about the tensions between Hungary and Ukraine, the tensions are escalating over disrupted Russian oil supplies. Hungary has now cut natural gas supply to Ukraine and says it will not sign any new energy contracts. Here is a full report.
Hungary has stopped supplying natural gas to Ukraine, marking a sharp escalation in tensions between the two countries. The decision comes amid an ongoing dispute over disruptions to Russian oil shipments through the Druzhba pipeline. Hungarian officials say they will honor existing contracts but will not sign any new agreements with Ukraine. Russian oil supplies to Hungary and Slovakia have been disrupted for weeks after reported damage to the pipeline running through Ukrainian territory. Budapest has accused Ukraine of deliberately blocking supplies, a claim Kiev denies. Ukrainian officials say repeated Russian attacks have made repairs to the pipeline dangerous and difficult. President Volodymyr Zelensky has also signaled reluctance to allow continued transit of Russian oil through Ukraine. Hungary, which still relies heavily on Russian energy, has called the move blackmail and responded by cutting gas supplies.
Ami pedig az ukrán helyzetet illeti, ott azt tudom mondani, hogy Magyarország és a magyar kormány tegnap világos döntést hozott, ez meg is jelent ezzel kapcsolatos kormányhatározat a közlönyben az éjjel. Tehát Magyarország a kifutó szerződéseket teljesíti, de újabb szerződést nem köt Ukrajnával. Ezek a szerződések a második negyedévben ki fognak futni. Hogy milyen eszközeink vannak még, én úgy gondolom, hogy nincs szükség újabb eszközre, mert a jelenleg rendelkezésre álló eszközeink elegendőek ahhoz, hogy Ukrajna a barátságkővezetéket megnyissa. Ennek csak az időpontja kérdéses.
Ukraine depends on Hungary for a significant portion of its gas imports, making the cut a major pressure point in the dispute. The standoff highlights growing divisions in Europe over energy and the war, with no immediate resolution in sight.
And now viewers, shifting our focus to some news from Nepal, where Balinder Shah is all set to take oath as Nepal's Prime Minister today in Kathmandu, the capital city, marking a historic rise for the 35-year-old leader of the RSP, Rashtriya Swatantra Party. Now, the swearing-in ceremony will coincide with Ram Navami, adding religious significance with 108 Vedic students performing Swasti Vachan. Now, Balinder Shah is expected to form a compact cabinet of 15 to 18 ministers only. Here is a full report.
Balendra Shah is set to take oath as Nepal's Prime Minister on March 27 in Kathmandu. The ceremony will mark his formal entry into the country's top office. The 35-year-old leader of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party scripted a massive victory by winning nearly 2/3 of seats in parliament, a rare mandate in Nepal's political history. A structural engineer turned rapper, Shah rose to prominence as Kathmandu's mayor, positioning himself as a challenger to Nepal's traditional political class. The swearing-in will coincide with Ram Navami, adding religious significance to the event. Sources say 108 Vedic students will perform Swasti Vachan during the ceremony, while 7 Brahmins will carry out the traditional Shankhanad.
लगभग 7-8 हजार किलोमिटर हिँड्यो होला देश बुझ्नलाई सबै लगभग 45-50 वटा जिल्ला घुमियो होला त्यो जिल्लाहरू घुम्ने जाँदाखेरि के महसुस भयो भन्दाखेरि लगभग देशभरिका समस्याहरू देशभरिका कुराहरू उस्तै रहेछन् कृषिको समस्याहरू पर्यटन क्षेत्रमा भएका समस्याहरू देखियो तर एउटा गुड न्यूज पनि छ त्यहाँ गुड न्यूज के हो भन्दाखेरि एउटा जिल्लामा समस्या छ भने त्यसको समाधान अर्को जिल्ला देशभित्रै रहेछ त्यो समाधान मिलाउने पार्टी बन्न चाहन्छ राष्ट्रिय स्वतन्त्र पार्टी.
Balendra Shah is expected to begin with a compact cabinet, with 15 to 18 ministers likely to be inducted in the first phase. Despite a strong mandate, analysts say his limited experience at the national level could test his leadership in the months ahead. The ceremony blends politics with tradition, as Nepal witnessed a leadership taking charge with strong cultural symbolism.
And now, viewers, amid escalating tensions in West Asia, US President Donald Trump claims that Iran is seeking a deal even as both sides continue to harden their positions. Now, while Washington points to military gains and signs of back-channel engagement, Tehran, on the other side, continues to deny negotiations. And in fact, there is a standoff that continues to remain in the West Asia war, raising concerns over stability in the region and its wider global impact. More in this report.
As West Asia war escalates, US President Donald Trump is now claiming that Iran is begging for a deal, even as the war intensifies and the world braces for escalation. President Donald Trump said that Iran has been completely wiped out militarily and is now desperate to negotiate.
They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators. They are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that. They should have done that 4 weeks ago. They should have done it 2 years ago.
Though earlier, Iran has denied that they are negotiating with the US as the war continues in its 4th week, but Trump insisted they are. Iran and the United States appeared at an impasse on Thursday, with each side hardening its position over talks.
So we estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission. 26 days in, we're really a lot ahead of schedule. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people, this is a disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster on their hands. They're defeated. They can't make a comeback.
Meanwhile, thousands more US troops neared the region while Tehran tightened its grip on the crucial Strait of Hormuz. Though US said that Strait of Hormuz is not a choke point and that tanker ship traffic will increase.
Mr. President, we are starting to see more and more movement in and out of the Gulf today, and this is more than yesterday, and this is the beginning. I am confident that shipping traffic will continue to increase on a daily basis even before we secure the straits.
Whereas at his first cabinet meeting since the war began, Donald Trump also mentioned a mystery present from Iran. Trump revealed that Iran allowed safe passage of multiple oil tankers, calling it a gesture during Black Channel talks.
They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there. We're going to let you have 8 boats of oil, 8 boats, 8 big boats of oil. This was 2 days ago. And they'll sail up tomorrow. That was 3 days ago. And I didn't think much about it. And then I watched the news and they said, a very good anchor actually, happened to be Fox. But I watched it and he said, something's unusual happening. There are 8 boats that are going right up the middle of the Hormuz Strait. 8 big tankers are going loaded up with oil right through. And I said, well, I guess they were right, and they were real. And I think they were Pakistani flagged. And I said, well, I guess we're dealing with the right people.
Earlier, Trump also warned Iran to get serious soon regarding a deal with Washington, adding that if it gets too late, there will be no turning back. With both sides hardening positions and the Strait of Hormuz at the center of it all, the risk of escalation is real and the consequences global.
All right, let's take a look at the top global headlines. The students in Santiago took to the streets on Thursday, marching from the former National Congress to Plaza Baquedano to protest proposed education funding cuts by Jose Antonio Cast. Now, demonstrators warned that plans to limit free higher education, scrape scholarships and tighten student loan rules could deepen inequality and restrict access. The march caused disruptions along Alameda Avenue, with clashes reported, roads barricaded, and several metro stations temporarily shut as tensions flared. A mid-air collision between 2 small planes in Ecuador's central coast of Pueblo Vizo on Thursday left 1 person dead and several others injured. According to emergency services, fire crews rushed to the crash site where both aircraft were seen engulfed in flames in a rural field. Authorities said that the cause of accident remains under investigation. A memorial was set up outside Montreal Trudeau International Airport Thursday for Air Canada pilots Mackenzie Gunther and Anthony Forrest, who died when their plane collided with a fire truck at New York's LaGuardia Airport. Now, passengers praised the pilots for their incredible reflexes, which helped save lives during the emergency landing. Of the 76 people on board, roughly 40 were hospitalized, with most now released. Costa Rica has agreed to accept 25 migrants per week deported from the United States under a new third country arrangement. The pact allows the U.S. to transfer non-Costa Rican migrants while Costa Rica processes them under its laws, ensuring they are not returned to countries where they face persecution. Now, the agreement is part of a broader Trump administration effort involving several countries in the Americas and Africa to manage deportations. And our viewers, amid global concerns over energy supply disruptions due to tensions around the strategically crucial Strait of Hormuz, India continues to maintain steady fuel inflows. Now, Apollo Ocean, carrying in fact 16,000 tons LPG, docked at the New Mangalore Port Authority. Many other crude oil are also scheduled to berth over the next few days, ensuring that domestic energy supplies remain steadfast. Here's a full report.
The LPG tanker Apollo Ocean docked at the New Mangalore Port Authority and is scheduled to offload nearly 16,000 tons of liquefied petroleum gas. Sources say a portion of the cargo will be discharged at New Mangalore before the vessel proceeds further to Kochi Port for the remaining offload. The LPG cargo originally arrived aboard the tanker Shivalik, which carried nearly 46,000 tons of LPG after passing through the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz earlier this month. The cargo was later transferred at Vadinar port in Gujarat before being routed to the Apollo Ocean for delivery. Meanwhile, another LPG tanker, Alain, carrying 23,000 tons of LPG, is expected to arrive at the port on March 27th after departing from Yanbu Industrial Port in Saudi Arabia. In addition, crude oil tanker Poppy P, carrying nearly 1.41 lakh tons of crude oil, is also expected to reach the port on the same day after sailing from the Red Sea region in Saudi Arabia. With multiple LPG and crude oil shipments continuing to reach Indian ports, authorities say the country's energy supply chain remains stable, even as tensions persist around key global shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz.
A short break coming up. Donald Trump says he's disappointed NATO did not cooperate with military operations in Iran.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है। स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और बरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा।
From Asia's largest news headquarters,
setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
A very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching the Republic TV. This is Shivam Dutt Mehta, and the top focus in this bulletin will definitely be the West Asian conflict, because Donald Trump has reiterated. He has said that the Iranian regime, Iran, is begging for a deal. However, the Iranian regime begs to differ, and they have completely rejected the Trump's peace plan. We'll get you all the details from the conflict zone and all the top national and international breaking news developments. But first up, let's have a look at the top headlines of the hour. Prime Minister Modi to hold virtual meeting with chief ministers on West Asia crisis today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold a virtual meeting with CMs on the West Asia crisis. And PM to attend a G7 summit.
And they'll tell you, we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal.
And also, Trump claims that Iran is desperate to make a deal with the US to end the war a day after Tehran rejected his 15-point peace plan.
I'm so disappointed in NATO, because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us, you don't have to. But they have an expression, a great expression, never forget. Can never forget.
Donald Trump says he is disappointed NATO did not cooperate with the military operations in Iran. And pine gas carrying 45,000 metric tons of LPG expected to arrive at New Mangalore port today. All right, viewers, now let's begin this bulletin with a big breaking news development that is coming in from Beirut. Beirut has been struck once again. We start this bulletin with fresh visuals coming in from Beirut. Mass destruction was reported after the US-Israeli aircraft targeted a residential apartment in the southern suburb of Beirut. Now, these are the visuals from Beirut, Lebanon. Beirut has been struck many a times by the Israeli Defense Forces, by the Israeli Air Force, because it is sheltering. It is the place where Hezbollah is. The Hezbollah, which is conducting strikes against the IDF, against the Israeli cities. And this is the biggest development we are getting right now, that of airstrike, which has happened. Fresh strike coming from visuals of strikes coming from Beirut. Mass destruction was reported after the US-Israeli aircraft targeted a residential apartment in the southern suburb of Beirut. We get these visuals, fresh visuals on your television screen. Latest visuals coming from the war zone. Mass destruction was reported in southern Beirut. On your screen, as you can see the visuals, these are the images of the visuals of the aftermath, the video of the aftermath after the strikes which were conducted by the IDF. Allegedly by IDF and the US. These are the Israeli strikes which have been conducted in Beirut, in Lebanon, in southern Beirut. On your screens, it's ladies and gentlemen. US-Israeli aircraft target residential area in Beirut. While there are talks, while Donald Trump claims that Iran is begging for a deal and claims of de-escalation and that he will not strike, but Iran is continuing the war, and also the war is continuing with the strikes by Israel and the retaliation by Iran. All right, viewers, now let's move on to another top story. Now, Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu announced the elimination of IRGC Navy Commander Ali Reza Tangsiri in a precise IDF strike, highlighting his role in blocking the Strait of Hormuz and terrorist operations. Now, Defense Minister Israel Katz detailed the operation that neutralized Tangsiri and top naval officials, all of which leads to the question, who is Tangsiri? A key figure in Iran's asymmetric warfare, Tangsiri led fast boat swarms and anti-Western tactics in the Persian Gulf. Let's listen into no more.
אנחנו ממשיכים לתקוף בעוצמה את המטרות של משטר הטרור האיראני. אמש חיסלנו את מפקד חיל הים של משמרות המהפכה. לאיש הזה יש הרבה דם על הידיים, ובנוסף הוא זה שהוביל את סגירת מצרי הורמוז. זוהי עוד אחת מהדוגמאות של שיתוף הפעולה בינינו לבין ידידינו ארצות הברית, במטרה משותפת להשיג את מטרות המלחמה.
הלילה סיכל צה"ל בפעולה מדויקת וקטלנית את מפקד חיל הים של משמרות המהפכה, טנגסירי, יחד עם בכירי פיקוד חיל הים. האיש היה אחראי הישיר על פעולת הטרור של מיקוש וחסימת מצרי הורמוז לשיט, פוצץ וסוכל.
Young Mumbai batter Prithvi Shaw has expressed his desire to make a comeback to the Indian men's national team as he prepares for the Indian Premier League 2026 season with Delhi Capitals. He said he is fully committed to making a comeback to the Indian team, stressing that he is now putting in far more effort than before. Virat Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar, who is a better player? This long-standing debate now has a verdict from former Indian captain Sourav Ganguly. As per Ganguly, both are great, and he claimed he is happy that both of them are from India. Ganguly, who is rated as one of India's best ever captains, reckons it is only when you play do you realize how difficult it is to make so many runs. Indian cricketer Rinku Singh expressed gratitude to the Uttar Pradesh government and Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath for appointing him as a regional sports officer under the sports quota. The KKR star thanked the state government for the appointment and also expressed appreciation for the financial assistance of ₹3 crore provided to him. French star Kylian Mbappe denied media reports that claimed Real Madrid examined the wrong leg when the France star sustained a knee injury late last year. Mbappe played throughout January but was then sidelined for 3.5 weeks before making his latest comeback. Providing an update on his recovery, Sunrisers Hyderabad captain Pat Cummins recently confirmed that he will not be available at the start of IPL 2026 but is aiming to return midway through the tournament. Speaking about his rehabilitation, Cummins revealed that he has already resumed bowling in the nets and is following a structured plan to regain full fitness. Following his poor show in the T20 World Cup 2026, Indian opener Abhishek Sharma is facing non-stop criticism, and Yuvraj Singh's father Yograj is the latest to take a jibe at the young cricketer. As per Yograj, Abhishek is not focused and the discipline is also missing. In what would come as a massive setback for fans, it is reported that the iconic M. Chinnaswamy ground is still not ready to host the cash-rich league. In fact, the season opener is set to take place between Royal Challengers Bengaluru and Sunrisers Hyderabad on March 28th. All right, viewers, now let's move on to another top story. Now, amid global concerns over energy supply disruptions due to tensions around the strategically crucial Strait of Hormuz, India continues to maintain steady fuel inflows. Now, Apollo Ocean carrying the 16,000 tons of LPG has docked at the new Mangalore Port Authority. Many other crude oils are also scheduled to berth over the next few days, ensuring that domestic energy supplies remain steady. Now, here's a report.
The LPG tanker Apollo Ocean docked at the new Mangalore Port Authority and is scheduled to offload nearly 16,000 tons of liquefied petroleum gas. Sources say a portion of the cargo will be discharged at New Mangalore before the vessel proceeds further to Kochi port for the remaining offload. The LPG cargo originally arrived aboard the tanker Shivalik, which carried nearly 46,000 tons of LPG after passing through the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz earlier this month. The cargo was later transferred at Vadinar port in Gujarat before being routed to the Apollo Ocean for delivery. Meanwhile, another LPG tanker, Alain, carrying 23,000 tons of LPG, is expected to arrive at the port on March 27th after departing from Yanbu Industrial Port in Saudi Arabia. In addition, crude oil tanker Poppy P, carrying nearly 1.41 lakh tons of crude oil, is also expected to reach the port on the same day after sailing from the Red Sea region in Saudi Arabia. With multiple LPG and crude oil shipments continuing to reach Indian ports, authorities say the country's energy supply chain remains stable, even as tensions persist around key global shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz.
All right, viewer, now let's move on to another top story. Now, India gets a major energy lifeline as LPG carrier Pine Gas nears the coast after a high-risk Hormuz transit escorted by the Indian Navy. Watch this report.
Indian-flagged LPG carrier Pine Gas is now approaching India's west coast, carrying around 43,000 metric tons of cooking gas. The vessel, with 27 Indian crew on board, safely crossed the Strait of Hormuz amid rising tensions and is expected to dock at the new Mangalore port by March 27th. Sailing alongside was Jug Vasant, carrying another 47,600 metric tons of LPG with 33 Indian crew members on board. Together, both ships bring over 92,000 metric tons of LPG, a crucial boost for India's domestic supply. Both vessels were escorted by the Indian Navy through the volatile Hormuz route, ensuring safe passage. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the world's most critical oil routes, handling nearly 20% of global energy trade, and recent threats and instability in the region had sparked fears of supply disruption. But with coordinated naval protection and diplomatic efforts, India has managed to secure key fuel supplies with no immediate shortage expected.
All right, viewers, now let's move on to another big breaking news that we are getting right now at this moment. Now, in a sign of relief and a major development, Indian LPG vessel, that is Jagvasant, docks at Kandla port. Now, Jagvasant is carrying over 42,000 metric tons of LPG, and it has successfully docked at a port in Gujarat. Big development coming in. It is carrying 42,000 metric tons of LPG, marking a significant boost to the country's fuel reserves, to the energy reserves. This is a major development for India's energy supply chain. The LPG vessel Jagvasant has successfully docked at Kandla port in Gujarat. Now, this boosts the country's fuel reserves. The development comes at a crucial time when global energy dynamics remain volatile. So it comes at a very critical moment, and India continues to strengthen its domestic supply lines. Now, it's quite difficult to keep LPG stored for a very long time, and hence the arrival of such ships is very vital, very crucial in the moment of crisis. While there is a global crisis pertaining to energy requirements around the globe, however, India is better placed, but we need steady inflows of such vessels. Comes at a crucial time when global energy dynamics remain volatile. India continues to strengthen its domestic supply lines. Successful docking will ensure not only the steady LPG availability, but also highlights the efficiency of India's port infrastructure, logistics network, and the way Indian ships were allowed by Iran, especially when to pass to the Strait of Hormuz during the wartime, during the West Asian conflict, during the ongoing conflict. This comes as a big sigh of relief. Another big vessel, another large vessel containing 42,000 metric tons of LPG, which marks a significant boost to the country's fuel reserves, to the LPG reserves. Now, Jagvasant, carrying over 42,000 metric tons of LPG, docks at port in Gujarat, has reached Kandla port in Gujarat. Major development, Indian LPG vessel, that is Jagvasant, docks at Kandla port. Jagvasant is carrying over 42,000 metric tons of LPG, successfully docked at a port in Gujarat, at Kandla port. Indian LPG vessel Jagvasant docks at Kandla port. Jagvasant carrying 42,000 metric tons. Very crucial at this moment. Very important at this moment, and a successful passage. Passage being allowed to Indian ships is also shows the diplomatic victory for India in this case. While many ships were not even allowed by the IRGC and the Strait of Hormuz, which continues to be a war zone because IRGC has not backed down. It continues to conduct strikes, and Israel is also conducting strikes over Tehran, over Iran. And though Donald Trump says that there are talks of de-escalation, but they are far from reality as we speak, because their strikes are continuing from all the sides. And during this critical moment, during these tough times, now we have LPG carrier Jagvasant, which has successfully docked at Kandla port. All right, I have Hina from the newsroom to give more details on this issue. Hina, this comes as a big sigh of relief. LPG Jagvasant carrying 42,000 metric tons of LPG. Over to you.
Absolutely, Shivam. This is a great relief for Indian citizens because multiple ships, in fact, remain stranded in the Strait of Hormuz. So this is a positive news for India as 42,000 metric tons of LPG arrives in India at Kandla port in Gujarat. Now, remember, this is not the only ship carrying LPG that is arriving in India. In fact, multiple LPG and oil tankers, oil ships, in fact, earlier arrived, and we have more relief on the way as pine gas, in fact, transited Strait of Hormuz and can arrive anytime soon, in fact, at the new Mangalore port in India. So a big relief. That pine gas LPG carrier is also carrying about 42,000 metric tons of LPG. And this, in fact, ship that we're talking about, Jagvasant, the second LPG carrier, in fact, arrived in Gujarat at the Kandla port. So a big relief. Remember, this comes after back-to-back assurances by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Also, earlier we saw how Union Minister Kiran Rijiju praised Prime Minister Modi for his efforts in this wartime situation situation. We have been reaching out to all the leaders from different countries, whether you talk about Israel, United States, different Gulf nations, and Iran as well. And remember, Iran is in fact giving a special treatment to India, given the cordial partnership between the Iranian Authority and Prime Minister Modi. Prime Minister Modi has been reaching out to stakeholders in Iran and talking about how it's very crucial to not disrupt this essential oil chokehold at the Strait of Hormuz, and calling for, in fact, peace and dialogue and diplomacy in this very tough times that we are in the West Asia. Now remember, there is no end in sight, but the priority at home here in India for Prime Minister Narendra Modi is to serve about 1.4 billion people who rely heavily on cooking gas, and commercial gas is also very important for different commercial setups. When you talk about hotels, restaurants, and different setups that utilize commercial gas, we have seen how it is, of course, starting to take a toll on facilities in Morbi in Gujarat. We are seeing visuals coming out where people, in fact, talking about the crisis that's looming. So, of course, essentially, we are good to go for at least a month, more than a month, in fact, that has been told by Prime Minister Modi. But, of course, multiple ships are arriving, transiting Strait of Hormuz, safely arriving at different ports located in India. So it's a good news, Shivam, that this, in fact, Jagvasant ship that we're talking about, carrying 42,000 metric tons of LPG gas, arrived at Mantla port in Gujarat. Shivam.
Yeah, definitely a big sigh of relief, and also how Indian ships are being allowed from that war zone, because IRGC has a virtual control over the entire region. The dominant force is the IRGC in that region, and also this comes in a sequence. There was once there was Nanda Devi, Jaglarki, and the other ships that are coming in a sequence to India. But we need a lot more ships in a sequence, because even if it's 42,000 metric tons or even at 90,000 metric tons, the requirement is not more than a day or a half day, because we need more such LPG carriers coming in. However, we are better placed compared to other countries across the globe, and especially if you look at the blockade by the IRGC for those who are close to America or Israel, Hina.
Absolutely, Shivam, and this is not about the ships that are carrying, in fact, how much they can bring relief for the Indian citizens, but also about the reserves that we have here in India. So we have good reserves of at least for more than a month, and so the crisis is not as imminent as is with other countries. In fact, when you talk about Pakistan, we have earlier seen how a Pakistani ship was also blocked, but here in India, we call for diplomacy, we call for peace and dialogue, and here Prime Minister Modi talking to Iranian authorities, and thus that's the reason why India, in fact, Indian ships have been given safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Remember, multiple ships are coming under attack. This particular ship that we're talking about, Pine Gas, in fact, 27 Indian seafarers aboard. They have been given safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. It's a volatile oil choke point right now. Multiple ships coming under attack, in fact, but Indian ships remain safe under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the diplomacy that India is carrying out and calling for peace and dialogue in the region.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Hina. Thanks a lot for the details on this story. A big sigh of relief, big development. Indian LPG vessel Jagvasant docks at Kandla port. 42,000 metric tons of LPG for the energy requirement of India. We need a lot more ships, but they're coming in a sequence, and many ships coming. And if they continue, there won't be any crisis. All right, viewers, now let's move on to another top story. Now, this is about the rising fuel prices, and supply concerns are beginning to hit consumers on the ground, with private players already passing on the burden. While companies cite global crude trends and disruptions, for the common man, it's turning into a daily struggle at the pump. Now, with uncertainty still looming over global oil supply, the pressure on household budgets is only expected to grow in the days ahead. More in this report.
Fuel shock on the streets. Private refiner Naira Energy hikes petrol and diesel prices, pinching customers. Naira Energy has raised petrol prices by 5 rupees per litre and diesel by 3 rupees, pushing petrol beyond the rupees 100 mark.
अभी तक 94 रुपए 64 पैसे था और आज 99 रुपए 64 पैसे हो गया। 5 रुपए 30 पैसे बढ़े। 5 रुपए केवल। क्या लग रहा है, कुछ असर सेल पे देखने को मिला इसका? सेल तो सर बढ़ी ही है।
In some outlets, restrictions have kicked in, only 10 liters per vehicle, as supply concerns grow amid refinery maintenance and global disruptions.
पब्लिक के लिए बिल्कुल परेशानी की बात है। बाइक वाले आ रहे, स्कूटी अपनी लेकर के आ रहे तो तेल मिल नहीं रहा है, कार लेकर के आ रहे तो तेल मिल रहा है, उसमें भी कंडीशन लग रही है कि 10 लीटर ही देंगे या 12 लीटर ही देंगे। हमें कहीं बाहर जाना होगा, कैसे उसका अरेंज होगा?
फ्यूल के क्राइसिस भी हो रहे हैं।
बिल्कुल हो रहा है, फ्यूल के क्राइसिस बिल्कुल हो रहा है, और उस पर जो कि नहीं होना चाहिए। मान लीजिए किसी को बाहर जाना, किसी घर पे कोई समस्या है, आदमी कैसे जाएगा? अगर ये सारी चीज़ें तो पहले से अरेंज करनी चाहिए। पहले से आप एक बार पब्लिक को इंडिकेट करेंगे कि हाँ 10 दिन 15 दिन बाद ये समस्याएं आएंगी, तो पब्लिक उस हिसाब से प्रिपेयर होगी ना।
Behind the hike, soaring global crude prices and disruptions in supply routes.
ये रेट में 12 बजे के बाद का है।
12 बजे के बाद।
हाँ।
कितने रुपए बढ़ाए गए?
5 रुपए।
और डीजल में
3 रुपए।
क्या उसके बाद से यहाँ पर भीड़ है या सन्नाटा है?
नहीं, भीड़ लगी रहती है। हाँ।
क्या फ्यूल कम आ रहा है पीछे से, ऐसा है?
हाँ, फ्यूल कम तो आ ही रहा है। हाँ।
आगे के हालात और खराब हो सकते हैं?
अभी भी हम तो
हाँ 30 लीटर का है। हाँ 30 लीटर पेट्रोल है और 160 लीटर डीजल।
इसके ऊपर नहीं दे सकते?
नहीं, उसके ऊपर।
While Naira assures no major supply disruption, the reality on the ground tells a more tense story. Shortages, caps and rising frustration.
बिल्कुल अपने प्रधानमंत्री के देखते हो, जो उनके जो है नियम होंगे वो हम पे सब पे जो है अप्लाई होंगे और हम मानेंगे।
With global tension pushing oil above $100 a barrel, the pressure is mounting and customers are paying the price.
तो मौजूद है कानपुर में। आपको अगर दिखाएं तो 5 रुपये 30 पैसे जो तकरीबन रेट है वो पेट्रोल का बढ़ाया गया है। इसके साथ ही आज सुबह से ये जो रेट है वो इम्प्लीमेंट कर दिए गए हैं। भारत की जो प्राइवेट एनर्जी कंपनी है नायरा, उसने ये रेट बढ़ाए हैं।
As fuel prices rise and supplies tighten, the burden is clearly shifting to the common man. The big question, how long can this last?
All right, viewers, it's time to slip into a short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. Coming up next, PM to hold meet with CMs, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold virtual meeting with chief ministers on West Asia crisis today. And also top focus, PM Modi to attend the G7 summit to be hosted by France from June 15 to 17.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ।
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर्नब मसाला।
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा,
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाए जीरा सिम। MDH का जल जीरा, जीरा सिम।
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूम
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर
Take you to the headlines. My name is Nayan. After Trump extended his pause on striking Iran's energy plants by 10 days, Iran says it did not request any pause on strikes targeting its energy infrastructure. Prime Minister Modi to hold virtual meeting with chief ministers on the West Asia crisis today. Prime Minister Modi to attend the G7 summit to be hosted by France from June 15 to June 17.
They'll tell you we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal.
Well, Iran is begging for a deal. Iran is desperate to make a deal with the US to end the war, a day after Tehran rejected his 15-point peace plan.
I'm so disappointed in NATO because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to. But they have an expression, a great expression, never forget. You can never forget.
Well, Trump says that he is disappointed that NATO did not cooperate with military operations in Iran. Meanwhile, pine gas carrying a 45,000 metric ton of LPG is expected to arrive at Mangalore port today. We're getting a big breaking news. The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has slammed the NATO and said that the US has constantly asked to help in wars, and when we had a need, it didn't get response, a positive one from NATO. A couple of leaders said that Iran was not Europe's war, while Ukraine isn't our war, and yet we've contributed more than the way that anybody has ever fought in it. Well, that was Secretary Rubio saying that Iran is not Europe's war and Ukraine is not America's war, but still there has been a great contribution according to Rubio, and let's hear what more he has to say.
The United States is constantly being asked to help in a war, and we have more than any other country in the world, on a war that's happening in another continent, in Ukraine. But when the U.S. had a need, he didn't get proper positive responses. So right now he's just making the observation that, I think there was a couple of the leaders in Europe who said that this was not Europe's war. Well, Ukraine is not America's war, and yet we've contributed more to that fight than any other country in the world. So it'll be something to examine. The president will have to take into account down the road. The United States is constantly being asked to help in a war, and we have more than any other country in the world, on a war that's happening in another continent, in Ukraine. But when the U.S. had a need, he didn't get proper positive responses. So right now he's just making the observation that, I think there was a couple of the leaders in Europe who said that this was not Europe's war. Well, Ukraine is not America's war, and yet we've contributed more to that fight than any other country in the world. So it'll be something to examine. The president will have to take into account down the road.
More breaking news coming in as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that the Strait of Hormuz could be opened tomorrow if Iran stops threatening global shipping, which is an outrage and a violation of the international laws. And for all these countries that care about the international law, they should be doing something about it. Here's more from Rubio.
Not going to, speculate on what it would take. It can be open tomorrow if Iran stops threatening global shipping, which is an outrage and a violation of international law. For all these countries that care about international law, they should be doing something about it. Not going to, speculate on what it would take. It can be open tomorrow if Iran stops threatening global shipping, which is an outrage and a violation of international law. For all these countries that care about international law, they should be doing something about it.
All right, viewers, we're getting another big breaking news as the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, he spoke from the aid from the G7 and he said that, like I said, very little U.S. energy comes through the Strait of Hormuz. It's the world that has a great interest in the Strait of Hormuz, so they should step up and deal with it.
Well, it's not help for us. Like I said, very little of our energy comes through the Straits of Hormuz. It's the world that has a great interest in that, and so they should step up and deal with it. Like I said, very little of our energy comes through the Straits of Hormuz. It's the world that has a great interest in that, and so they should step up and deal with it.
All right, let's hear it up from the students in Santiago who took to the streets on Thursday. They're marching from the former National Congress to Plaza Bacuendano to protest proposed education funding cuts by Jose Antonio Cast. Demonstrators warned that the plans to limit free higher education and to scrap scholarships and tighten student loan rules could deepen inequality and restrict access. The march caused disruptions along the Alameda Avenue, with clashes reported, roads barricaded, and several metro stations temporarily shut as the tensions have flared. A mid-air collision between two small planes in Ecuador's central coast in Pueblo Viejo on Thursday left one person dead and several others injured, according to the emergency services. Fire crews rushed to the crash site where both aircrafts were seen engulfed in flames in a rural field. Authorities said that the cause of the accident remains under investigation. Now, a memorial was set up outside Montreal Trudeau International Airport on Thursday for the Air Canada pilots Mackenzie Gunther and Antonio Forrest, who died when their plane collided with a fire truck at the New York's La Guardia Airport. The passengers praised the pilots for their incredible reflexes, which helped save their lives during the emergency landing. Of the 76 people on board, roughly 40 were hospitalized and most of them are now released from the hospital. "25 migrants per week were deported from the United States under a new third country arrangement. The pact allows the U.S. to transfer non-Costa Rican migrants, with Costa Rica processes them under its law, ensuring that they are not returned to the countries from where they face persecution. The agreement is a part of a broader Trump administration effort involving several countries in the America and Africa to manage deportations. All right, the Manipur's government plans to conduct a census exercise from April 1 that has been postponed due to public pressure and demands for implementing the NRC or a similar mechanism to identify illegal immigrants. Civil society organizations and local groups urge the government to defer the census, citing concerns about the demographic changes and displacement of indigenous population. A revised schedule has been announced, with the census now planned from August 17 to the September 30th this year. More on this report. All right, with me on the telephone is joining Mr. Johnson, who's a reporter, and he will be telling us more about this census that has been postponed. Johnson, are you there with us?
Okay, yes, Nayan. This is one of the success of the public, mainly the just initial delimitation campaign. Actually, due to the current volatile situation of Manipur, many people have been displaced, and if census is done in such a situation, then those IDPs will not be able to successfully enroll in this census conducted. So this unfair delimitation campaign have been urging, and various civil society organizations have been urging the government to postpone this census process. So, but for actually this census process was planned to conduct starting from 1st of April, considering the public demand. The government of Manipur, they have ordered, have issued a notification that the proposed census, which was already planned to be conducted from 1st of April, was postponed, and new schedule has been revised, and it will be the first phase will be will be conducted from 17th of August to 31st April, and it will be for an option for self-enumeration, which will be conducted starting from 17th August to 31st August. After this, the house listing operation or the census will be conducted starting from 1st of September to 30th of September.
Right,
so,
right. Johnson, I have a question. So there is a lot of displacement of the indigenous communities. How is this census then going to take place? Because a lot of people have migrated from one area to another.
Yeah, this is the main question. So this is the main reason for the IDP is mainly the campaign for justice and fair delimitation. Under the guidance of these, many civil societies have organizations have urged the government to complete the resettlement process first, because without resettlement, this census process for the IDPs will not yield a very good productive result. So, regarding this, so the IDPs are now still starting to.
Okay, Johnson, thank you so much for giving us that valuable information. We'll now go on to another story. In this interview, Major Samarpal Singh Toor, a decorated Indian Army veteran, exposes why Pakistan is in neck-deep crisis amid the Iran-US-Israel conflict and rising India-Pakistan tensions from Balochistan insurgency, Afghan revenge, Shia-Sunni fault lines, and ISI's false flag ops to a crashing economy, cancelled military parades, elite escape plans, and nuclear asset transfer to Saudi Arabia. Now, Major Toor explains why Pakistan has become militarily overstretched, diplomatically irrelevant, and strategically cornered. He also decodes Trump's unpredictable war doctrine, the looming threats of Iran's drones on Islamabad, Hazara Shia fighters, and how India is prepared to permanently dismantle Pakistan's terror network if Islamabad chooses war. Let's listen in.
Permanently, if it goes to war with India, or if it acts adventurous, it will be a very, very big mistake by Pakistan if it chooses to do so. Iran is aware of it. That is why, there is a reason why their naval ship Selen was returned back yesterday. I mean, Pakistan has been claiming it wants to, mediate peace talks, but it is already in the muck. It's neck deep in the sludge. They have gone to war with the Afghans. They've been doing the ethnic cleansing with the Baluch, and then in last month we had Operation Herof take place in Balochistan. There are heavy losses to the Frontier Corps, where Pakistan government has refused to recognize those 7 to 8 boys of Frontier Corps, which has actually smashed the morale of the troops down into the ground. That how can they look away from their own soldiers? It has been a very big embarrassment for Pakistan. Then the so-called, Phoenix complex, which was a military base during the time when America was there in Afghanistan, it bombed that, claiming it was housing ammunition and soldiers. But all international journalists have visited that location. It was a rehabilitation center. It was a drug de-addiction center. People were there to start their life from a scratch, which was denied by the Pakistanis, and their lives were taken away unlawfully. So these are the human right violations which Pakistan has been committing. The Durand Line, it violated the Durand Line itself when America was at war with Afghanistan by, infiltrating 2 to 3 kilometers at almost every stretch along the Durand Line. Now that the Taliban is saying that the Durand Line has to be back to where it was, now Pakistanis are having issues and problems. The friction is there. The trade between Afghans and the Pakistanis have stopped. The farmers have had losses worth crores. Now with the Iranian war, there is shortage of oil, because of which on 23rd of March, they had to celebrate their military day parade, which was again cancelled, which is a telltale sign of a declining and a failed economy. It does not complement Pakistan in any way. When their economy is on a crash course, they have been purchasing private jets worth billions of dollars. Why is that? Are they securing their escape plan for the rich and famous of Pakistan? Are the Pakistani elite politicians and military top brass ready to, leave Pakistan in case of a contingency? Will Pakistan implode or get into communal violence? Because there are approximately 4 crore Shias there. That's a massive number. And they have been suppressing the Shias. Recently, we saw the false flag operation by the ISI, how it bombed the Shia mosque to take away the attention from all other things and focus there and put the blame on India, which sadly did not happen for Pakistan. So Pakistan is in a fix. It has promised the International Stabilization Force its soldiers, which it is desperately failing to comply with and provide the soldiers. In fact, they are training their corps to go for the deployment in Gaza for making Hamas surrender their weapons. So this is a shocker, that a task which is actually professionally meant for a military, which is well trained, especially the infantry, they are sending in, unexperienced and freshly trained policemen. They are asking for big trouble. None of the Iranians have declared their panel for negotiation. They have not given any positive statement for these negotiations. There has been no pause in the bombing and fighting since the last 48 hours, despite Trump announcing 5 days of no fighting. There are orders that wherever Asim Munir is visiting, up to 500 meters, no officer or soldier of the Pakistan Army is allowed to hold a weapon in their hands, be it even at the LC where he goes for his visits, or any other peace station where he's been visiting and seeing the preparedness of the Pakistan military. There are strict orders that there will be no weapons or soldiers up to 500 meters within the proximity of the so-called failed Marshal Asim Munir. So that is the level of insecurity. That is the level of, distrust amongst him and his own military. The ISI is not in the same parallel line of thought with Asim Munir. It is creating issues and not complying by all the orders that are being given by Asim Munir. So Asim Munir's security and everything is now mainly being handled by the Pakistan military intelligence and not ISI. So ISI is on a downward roller coaster crash, which is not being seen as a popular agency anymore in the eyes of Asim Munir due to internal differences. And keeping all these issues in mind, you see the relevance of any of the Pakistan leaders is, it doesn't have any cognizance left at all. So I certainly feel Trump has come out to be a trump card for the American military and a master of deception, where he knows that whatever he's going to say is going to keep the enemy guessing, is going to keep the world guessing. So it has come in American forces' favor. The way how verbose President Trump is, you just never know how he will change his statements or what he will do next. That is exactly what the American military wanted in a leader who can be less predictable, which President Trump is totally unpredictable at the moment, which is working in the favor of the American forces at the moment. So if you see it from a military point of view, America is well on track, has got a good momentum, including Israel, and they are proceeding as per the war plan against Iran at the moment. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, trust me, it is irrelevant. There is no point of Pakistan other than being a bellboy or a waiter facilitating a venue for peace talks, but it doesn't have any relevance to speak in that forum or give any point. Where end of the day, whatever happens, if the peace talks do happen, the big question is if they happen. I certainly do not feel they're going to happen, and if they happen, they are not going to be a success, and Pakistan is going to be in dire straits, and it will have to commit its military, and there is going to be attrition either ways to Pakistan, because after the peace talks fail, mind you, Islamabad will be vulnerable to the Iranian drone and missile attacks as well. You have the Hazara fighters from Afghanistan. They are Shia fighters. They are ready to fight against the Pakistanis if they tend to enter the war and help the Americans in this war against Iran. So it already has enough on its plate. It's overloaded. Pakistan is in no position to actually go to war or send its troop anywhere. And it is doing its dire straits for Pakistan. It is desperate. It will only be a bonus and a miracle if these negotiations end up in, a pause in war or a peace treaty, which will be in the making. It will be a miracle if that happens. But as far as the present on-ground facts are concerned, they are nowhere even near it. They are beyond, even if you want to imagine it, they are nowhere near any peace talk or any agreements between either of the sides. Pakistan is only desperate to not get involved by letting these negotiations happen and make them a success, but that is very, very unlikely to happen. And Pakistan will have to comply with Saudi Arabia, else it will have to pay back the $6 billion that it owes Saudi Arabia. Its relationship with Saudi Arabia will become bad. Though they have had a pact together, there is news of transfer of Pakistani nuclear assets to Saudi Arabia, which has already been done approximately 2 months back. So Saudi definitely have the Pakistani nuclear weapons stationed in Saudi Arabia itself. So situation is very, very sensitive for Pakistan. Pakistan cannot please everyone. Pakistan cannot please the GCC at the same time. It cannot please the Iranians. It cannot please the Americans in one go and itself sit aside and do nothing other than offer its location for talks. That is barely any contribution. If talks were really to happen, they could have happened in Qatar. They could have happened in Bahrain. They could have happened in any of the GCC countries which are willing not to go to war with Iran. But why is that it's not happened? Why is it that it is Pakistan that is being chosen for these talks? Because Pakistan is the one which is desperate, that it is a doom for them. Whether they go in, they are doomed. If they don't go into this fight, they will be boycotted by the Arabs. So it is a lose and a situation of loss for Pakistan either ways. Whether you go to war or you either choose your sides. If you are not able to choose sides, you are at loss again. So Pakistan is basically fighting to maintain its relevance, whereas Pakistan is irrelevant at the moment because it doesn't have anything to offer, be it economical, be it otherwise. Pakistan has nothing to offer to the world but terrorism and how they've supported terrorism. And probably Americans will only take advantage of Pakistan by exploiting their anti-Shia mindset. And if they get into this war, trust me, their military is going to collapse. They are already in a multi-front war with the Afghans and the Baluch. God forbid if they go to war with the Indians, like how we thrashed the hell out of them in Operation Sindoor last May in 2025. This time it is going to be merciless. India is not going to halt its tactical advances and attacks, and it is going to totally decimate the Pakistan terror network permanently if it goes to war with India, or if it acts adventurous. It will be a very, very big mistake by Pakistan if it chooses to do so.
That was Colonel, and he spoke what was on his mind. Coming up after a short break, Prime Minister Modi to hold a virtual meeting with Chief Minister on West Asia crisis today. Also, after a short break, PM Modi to attend the G7 summit to be hosted by France from June 15th to June 17th. Right up after the short break.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े।
चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर्नब मसाला।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट।
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
All right, let's take a look at the headlines at this hour. Indian LPG vessel Jagvasant docks at Kandla port in Gujarat carrying over 42,000 metric tons of LPG. Pine gas carrying 45,000 metric tons of LPG expected to arrive at New Mangalore port today. Prime Minister Modi to hold virtual meeting with chief ministers on West Asia crisis today. PM Modi to attend the G7 summit to be hosted by France from 15th of June to 17th of June. After Trump extends pause on breaking news, relief for oil marketing companies here in India as Indian government center reduces excise duty on petrol from 13 rupees to 3 rupees per litre and for diesel 10 rupees to 0. Now remember, there is no change in retail prices of petrol or diesel. This is especially done for oil marketing companies. Reduction of excise duty on petrol as well as for diesel. Now, a special excise cut to help OMCs lower their under-recoveries comes at a very crucial time when there is a pressure mounting on these oil marketing companies and, of course, concerns of inflation as well as crude Brent oil also goes above $108 per barrel. So this is a big relief here in India by the Indian government. In fact, center reducing excise duty on petrol from 13 rupees to 3 rupees per litre and for diesel 10 rupees to 0. No change in retail prices and special excise cut to help OMCs lower their under-recoveries. A big news for OMCs. Now remember, it is going to help these companies as their freight costs will also be reduced and thereby the entire inflation will also be reduced. All right, I have my colleague, Senior Executive Editor Abhishek Kapoor joining us to get us more detail. Abhishek, this is a great news for the OMCs. It will, of course, lower down the pressure on these companies during this situation, the war situation in West Asia.
Well, yes, on the face of it, it seems like a stop for the OMCs and cushions them against the spurt in crude prices. But also remember, at some point they would have thought of transferring that stress to the end consumer. So in that sense, ultimately it's about cushioning that oil shock at the pump and at the pipeline, or so to say, the gas supplies. I think the government is essentially acting proactively, so to say, to make sure that the oil shock is and the adverse effect of oil shock is cushioned. And also, we have to remember that when the oil prices were low, the government and the OMCs were actually recovering a lot of money, because at that time the prices of the pump were not decreased. So in that sense, if you look at it, while the prices have increased almost double from what they were before the war, this cushion is about, if you look at the retail prices, roughly about 10%. So in that sense, yes, takes care of the stress on the oil marketing companies, and hence, takes away that much stress on the OMCs to transfer their burden to the end consumer, and hence thus helps people at large, the common man and the common woman, in terms of the prices they pay for the fuel, both oil and gas. The government, in fact, remember, also set inflation targets yesterday for the next 5 years. And I think this would be seen as a broader policy to make sure that overall prices remain with inflation targeting framework, Hina. Also, the fact that Prime Minister is going to be having a Team India meeting today with all the chief ministers, excluding the election-going states. And all indication is that we are looking at a period of disruption where the nation needs to come together. The government at all levels need to come together, from the center to the states to district level. And I think the Prime Minister is going to prep the entire system for some belt tightening. And this is just going forward, the central government indicating that it is taking care of its share of the burden. The states also have to do their share, and that's why this meeting that's going to take place in a couple of hours from now gains that much more importance.
All right, Abhishek, I would also like you to take a question from economist Sharath Kohli, who is joining us live to get us more details and a sense of how it will, in fact, cushion the inflation pressure on the end consumers.
You can take that question to Sharath Kohli. It's basically, the question is, how does it help us as end consumers? I mean, is the oil marketing companies benefiting, or ultimately we also benefit with this?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for getting us all of these details. Now, viewers, moving to Sharath Kohli now, economist joining us live to get us more details. Sharath Kohli, this is a big move by the Indian government. I'm just wondering, how long can we sustain this move? How long can the cuts be provided on fuel excise duties to help these OMCs?
Good morning, Hina, to you and Abhishek, and of course the viewers. I think this is a very smart move on part of the government, because the oil marketing companies, Hindustan Petroleum, Bharat Petroleum, Indian Oil, their bottom lines were under pressure. When we say bottom lines, this means their profit lines were under pressure, because crude oil prices, they were at around $70 just before the war started, and they are shot up at one point to $120. And we should not forget, Hina, that effectively it costs the OMCs much more. The basket crude costs you somewhere around 150, 60 when it is 110. So I think the bottom lines were gradually eroding. It is said that about 25,000 crore of profit reserves were collected by these companies over the last few, I would say, month or a year, while the prices of crude oil were between $60 and $70. But eventually when they went up, all the profit reserves started eroding. And there was a point when these OMCs were slipping into losses. So I think what the government has done is, and what the OMCs had to do, is to pass it on to the consumers. So to neutralize the impact to the consumers, this excise has been cut so that the OMCs need not pass it on to the consumers. We should not forget, Hina, that there are elections in 4 states next month: Puducherry, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. So it's going to be a very unpopulous move at this point of time if you pass on this to the consumers, because the inflationary impact would be there. And RBI has just about managed to, or shall I say, Finance Ministry managed to keep the inflation down for that matter. So I think this move will provide a cushion to the oil marketing companies. Well, on one side their excise would be cut, on the other side their input cost is going up. So they'll be able to set this off. Now, what one needs to see very interestingly, Hina, is that the mathematical effect of this adjustment, how much effectively is the consumer paying from the pocket? This may make a slight adjustment in the petrol diesel prices, although I'm sure that the quantum of excise cut has been kept in mind while calculating the bottom lines of the OMCs that they were supposed to pass on. So in fact, if you allow me to say, I would say that if this had not happened, we would have seen a 10 rupees or a 15 rupees or a 7-8 rupees increase in the price of petrol and diesel for the end consumers, which after all, they may not have to pay right now. So I would say a very smart move, and the government of course is taking a hit on its fiscal balance sheet. Hina.
Absolutely, Sharad Kohli. Continue to stay with us. I also have our business editor, Pranav, joining us to get us more detail. Pranav, this is a smart move, as Sharad Kohli is mentioning. This is also a very proactive move. Indian government not waiting and watching the situation in West Asia, in fact, but taking a proactive move right ahead of the elections so that consumers do not take a hit.
Well, absolutely. In fact, this has two impacts. One is on the consumers, because consumers will definitely have a cushion and a direct release, which will also kind of help the retail price stable, despite the fact that there has been a rally of about 4% global oil past about 2. The second actually is a catch risk by the government, because whether we or not or whether the way the government is dealing with it, there is likely to be a revenue hit because of this. We were talking to one of the analysts who said that there is an estimated 1.5 lakh crore annual loss to government if the cut continues throughout. So yes, the government has taken a hit, a calculated risk, but the end goal will be one to put in the consumer and to navigate the political, right now. We'll have to wait and see how this actually pans out. But it's in fact a positive by the government to cushion, not pass on back to consumers.
Absolutely, Pranav. And Sharad Kohli would also like to point out that this move will also going to curb the illegal hoarding of oil and gas, which we are seeing happening across India. So this is a good move by the Indian government to tackle that situation as well.
Well, I think when there's no panic, there is no need to hoard.
Yes.
There is no need to black market. It's as simple as that. And if there'll be no panic, there is no rumors spreading on the supply side. I don't think there is a need to. The hoarding was primarily happening on the gas. We were not seeing any hoarding happening on petrol and diesel yet, although there were some queues being seen outside the petrol stations in Maharashtra and Telangana. But they were coming more out of rumors that people just wanted to get their tank full even before it got empty. So I think petrol diesel hoarding is not a concern as of now. I think this move will further ease because, and we should also not forget, another very important point, that the situation in West Asia is very evolving. As we talk now, the crude oil prices are hovering around $105 to $107. They have again gone up because a couple of days ago they were about 97. Now it has again shot up. Now President Trump has given another 10 days to Iran, before he starts hitting the energy infrastructure, although I find it very hard to whatever President Trump says. Personally speaking, I don't trust any of his statements. But then if we take it on the face of it, there is some time now. So I think the market will take time to settle down. But then an immediate relief for consumers. Now, the consumer might feel, a lot of people may start believing that petrol, diesel is going to get cheaper. But I think they would be mistaken there because the entire reversal of excise is going to be absorbed by the OMCs in adjusting the price. So the price adjustment will be done accordingly. Whatever is the amount to be passed on to the consumers is being cut down at the back end by the excise. So I think the consumers can relax. There's no shortage, no need to panic. It's just life as usual as far as your trips to petrol stations are concerned, Hina.
Absolutely. No panic needed here in India. Pranav, would like to come to you now. How do you think Indian markets are going to react to this announcement by the Indian government? Of course, the situation in West Asia and the announcements by Donald Trump remain very confusing, but this is a positive move by the Indian government. How are the markets going to react as investor confidence is also going to boost up?
Well, we need to wait and watch because the market is opening actually after a holiday yesterday. So a lot of news is getting consumed as the markets open. Asian markets are fallen and the Indian markets are currently down about 0.5%. In the next about 2 minutes, markets will really go live. But we are looking at a gap down opening. How the government or how the move is absorbed by the OMCs as well as other market players remains to be seen. But a couple of takeaways is one is that it's likely to the fiscal deficit may slip by about 40 to 45 points from the targeted fiscal deficit because of this move. It is likely to protect GDP by preventing the consumption. So on one side, while there is likely to be a risk in terms of the GDP growth. There is another, downside to getting protected is that consumption is going to be protected. So it's a two-way sword. Government has taken a calculated move, and we need to wait to see how this gets absorbed next about 2-3 months to really see the impact on markets as well as equity.
Absolutely, Pranav. And Sharad Kohli, would like to come back to you. Now, you said that the Indian government is willing to take a hit on the fiscal deficit, but I'm just wondering how long can we sustain this cut on the excise duty?
Well, in terms, if we talk of the macro numbers, I don't know how far they interest to the common man, but there are people who are very much interested in this. 4.3% was the target set for fiscal deficit as far as 26-27 is concerned. We were not far away from that target. So obviously, as I agree with Pranav, what he said, that this is going to make our targets go a little disarray. But I think the situation, as I said, is very evolving. And there could be quick decisions taken, both on excise, on prices, on the petrol and diesel to consumers. And another important point, Hina, there is an important chief minister's meeting with the prime minister today. So I'm sure the prime minister is going to, because the petrol and diesel prices have got components. There is VAT, there is excise, there is transportation cost, and of course there is the basic cost. So prime minister is going to tell the chief ministers that we've done our bit, excise has been cut. If there is a need, you should also be prepared to cut down the VAT, because we all know that petrol diesel is not under GST. So you should be prepared to cut down the VAT if these OMCs further slip into losses despite this, if the crude oil prices remain high. So I'm keeping my eye on the chief minister's meeting in the evening, where he will try and convey directly or indirectly that look at your balance sheets of the state and see if you too can provide because that's one important constituent of the petroleum and diesel prices, Hina.
Absolutely, Sharad Kohli. And Pranav, this is also going to be a precedent for the other governments across the world who are trying to tackle their economies during these tough times.
Well, absolutely. In fact, everybody is, dealing with the situation. It remains a fluid and a volatile situation. I mean, just 2 days ago when Donald Trump said that he's postponing the strikes on energy side by 5 days, markets reacted sharply upwards. And just within 24 hours, we are seeing all the markets, the global markets, heading for a turmoil down 1, 2, 3%. So, yes, we are looking at an energy crisis. We're looking at uncertainty. So Iran said that, those vessels which are non-hostile are allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. The insurance cost in the sector has already, spiked oil prices, is in turn likely to get passed on to consumers across the globe. We're seeing an airfare rise already. So, yes, all the countries, all the major economies are actually, facing impact and trying to see how the impact will be shielded, or how the end consumer will be shielded from the cost of these oils. So, yes, we'll have to wait and see how governments across the globe navigate this situation. Indian government has definitely taken its first step. Maybe there would be many more steps to come in the pipeline.
Absolutely, Pranav. And Sharad Kohli, this is also back-to-back good news coming in from the Indian government. Earlier, the government assured, the Ministry of Petroleum assured that we have ample reserves for about 76 days. So it's a positive outlook as far as the oil and petroleum and diesel situation is concerned in India.
Absolutely. I think there were concerns being expressed especially from the opposition benches about how the government is handling gas and so forth. There were various kinds of comments being made. I think this should set to rest some of the unnecessary voices which were being raised. This shows the sensitivity of the government. This also shows, Hina, that oil marketing companies, they are government-owned companies. I'm talking of the three principal companies. Well, I think not many people know that Nayara, one of the private, oil seller, petroleum seller, you've seen some petrol stations. They have quite a few petrol stations, by the way. They have increased the prices of petrol and diesel. So they're going to find it very difficult to sell their petrol, because they're going to see a drifting away of customers from their petrol stations to government petrol stations. I think oil marketing companies must have spoken to the government that, look, we will not be able to keep down the prices beyond a certain limit, because crude oil cost is hitting our balance sheet. So I think the government must have put the calculators on that what best we can do, and to see that the consumers don't get impacted. So this also shows, Hina, that if this has not happened, and I have been saying that for a very long time, if this move was not taken today, we would have been prepared to take a hit on the petrol diesel prices anytime soon. I was saying this is going to come anytime because I was keeping a watch on the bottom lines as to what is the crude import cost, what is the refining cost, and so and so. And I was wondering that how these OMCs have managed to survive for all this long, notwithstanding the profit reserves. But here comes the move, and this vindicates my stand that yes, they were under stress, and this will help in relieving the stress, Hina.
All right, thank you so much, Sharat Kohli and Pranav, to get us all these latest updates from this very important breaking that we are tracking at this point in time, where Indian government, in fact, cut down on the excise duty on petrol and diesel for oil marketing companies, OMCs. This is a big news that we're tracking. And of course, it's going to provide a huge cushion to the end consumers. Will, of course, avoid any sort of inflation in the near future. Petrol duty, in fact, and diesel duty also reduced from 0 to 0, in fact, from 10 rupees per litre. This is a big news that we are tracking. A big relief for oil marketing companies. Centre reducing excise duty on petrol from 13 rupees to 3 rupees per litre, and for diesel, 10 rupees to 0 rupees. Now, remember, viewers, there is no change as far as retail prices are concerned. So it's not going to be the change on the petrol pumps and for the consumers who pay to refuel their petrol and diesel tanks, but it is going to be a special excise cut to help oil marketing companies, OMCs, to lower their under-recoveries. So remember, it's a very proactive move by the Indian government so that all of these OMCs can avoid any sort of major losses in their revenues as well. We are talking about the OMCs, oil marketing companies, and not the end consumers, but it is going to, of course, cushion the inflation concerns for the end consumers as well. It is going to ensure that the government absorbs oil shock in the country amid this tough situation in the West Asia war. Now also comes right ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's very crucial meeting with all the chief ministers, of course, apart from the chief ministers of the states that are now going to go for assembly elections, but other chief ministers and Prime Minister Modi is going to hold a meeting and in fact talk about this very difficult situation because of the war in West Asia. So we'll continue to closely track that development as well. But this is a big relief for Indian consumers and for oil marketing companies as the diesel duty and the petrol excise duty gets cut by a big margin, in fact, for oil marketing companies. A big move by the Indian government, by the centre, to ensure that the oil shock for the end consumers is absorbed. A big relief, no change in the retail prices, but special excise cut to help OMCs lower their under-recoveries. And we got overall perspective from economists as well, as it's a good move. They are saying it's a good move by the Indian government, a proactive move and a smart move, in fact, which is also going to set a precedent for all the other economies. Remember, all of these developments are happening as the Indian government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, trying to tackle any sort of a situation that may emerge in our country. So as of now, there is no need to panic. There is no chaos as far as oil is concerned, petrol and diesel is concerned. And also remember, we are also doing good as far as LPG is concerned. We have seen how Jagwasant, carrying 42,000 metric tons of gas, arrived at the Kandla port in Gujarat today. And this is another big move, smart move by the Indian government by cutting down the fuel excise duty to help oil firms, in fact, cushion the pressure on the end consumers. It's big news that we're tracking here. India cuts fuel excise duty, ensuring that the burden is not on the end consumers, it's not on the citizens who are paying the price for petrol and diesel at the oil pumps. This move is also needed as Brent crude oil, in fact, crosses $100. Remember, it was below 100 before the war started, way below 100 in fact, but now it is hovering around more than $108 per barrel. And that's a big and smart move by the Indian government. I have my colleague Shambhavi joining us live to get us more detail. Shambhavi, we have a crucial meeting also going to take place of Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the Chief Minister. What all other announcement we can see taking place? This is a big smart move by the Indian government as far as cutting down the excise duty for the OMCs.
See, definitely this comes in where the government is stepping in to share the burden that the oil marketing companies have been facing. And for our viewers, let us tell them that the petrol excise duty was earlier 13 rupees per litre, which has now been reduced to 3 rupees per litre, and diesel was 10 rupees per litre, which has been reduced to 0 rupees. Although it is very important to point out that this is not going to affect the retail price of the petrol and the diesel, and it's not going to affect the consumers yet, but this comes in as a huge step by the government, where the government is stepping in to share the burden with the oil marketing companies, because the global crude oil prices had increased, had taken a steep increase, where the prices were around $100 per gallon. And these oil marketing companies who buys crude then turns it into petrol and diesel and then sells it to customers. So basically from the very start of it, in the very beginning of this entire chain, the price is being cut because the OMCs were under recoveries for the same, and this will definitely help them to absorb the shock which we are facing at the moment. Back to
Absolutely, Shambhavi. And what is the latest that we have as far as the meeting is concerned of Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the Chief Minister, when it is due to take place, and what all announcements can we anticipate?
See, this has been one of the top reasons of distress in our country. Even the government has taken a lot of steps, be it conducting an all-party meeting and making sure that each and every party who participated in the meeting was updated about this entire situation, about what India has been currently facing and what India can expect to face in the coming future. And even when Narendra Modi addressed the nation, the House, 2 days, for 2 consecutive days, he has mentioned that how the people of this country need to gear up and to pace themselves up because the ill effects of the war is going to last a long time. So the decisions, the announcements is going to be somewhat related to it. And from this initial information that we have got about the excise duty being cut down to rupees 3 and 0 rupees for petrol and diesel respectively, things are going to definitely come along the lines of how this could better benefit India and how government could share the burden that India is facing at the moment.
Absolutely, Shambhavi. Thank you so much for joining to getting us all of these details. Thank you. All right, viewers, fuel excise duties slashed for oil marketing companies, a big cushion for the end consumers.
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime. Raho befikar.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से MDH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं, इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये हित तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव लंबे
A very warm welcome, viewers. You're watching Republic TV. This is Shivam Dutt Mehta, and the top focus will be on the oil prices, oil market, because the excise duty has been reduced by the government, giving a major relief to the oil marketing companies. This will act as a cushion for maintaining, stabilizing the oil prices, whether it be petrol or diesel, because the excise duty has been slashed for both of them. It will be a major relief, and also markets have opened on a lower note, and they have Sensex has fallen down a few points. We'll get you the update on what's new in Sensex, the market analysis and top updates, the status of rupee as we speak, and a lot more now. But first up, let's have a look at the top headlines of the hour. In a major relief to Indian oil firms, Centre significantly reduces excise duty on petrol and diesel to help OMCs lower their under-recoveries. Indian LPG vessel Jagvasant docks at Kandla port, carrying over 42,000 metric tons of LPG. Pine gas carrying 45,000 metric tons of LPG expected to arrive at New Mangalore port today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold virtual meeting with chief ministers on West Asia crisis today. After Trump extends pause on striking Iran's energy plants by 10 days, Iran says it did not request any pause on strikes targeting its energy infrastructure.
I'm so disappointed in NATO because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us, you don't have to, but they have an expression, a great expression, never forget. You can never forget.
Donald Trump says he is disappointed NATO did not cooperate with military operations in Iran. All right, viewers, now let's start the bulletin with the update from the Indian markets. Dalal Street has opened lower. Nifty is down 270 points, while Sensex has slipped 800 points. Now, meanwhile, Asian markets are showing mixed trades despite Trump's 10-day postponement. Australian and Japanese markets are down, and Hong Kong and Shanghai is up. On the other hand, Wall Street has fallen sharply overnight. So Wall Street has fallen sharply overnight, has reacted on the West Asian conflict. Asian markets are giving mixed reaction. Wall Street falls sharply. Now, this comes as the excise duty on oil prices has been slashed by the government. Nifty down by 270 points. Asian markets mixed. Wall Street falls sharply. All right, we have Pranav with us to put this into perspective and more details. Pranav, if you can share details on how the markets are reacting after the announcement of the excise duty being slashed by the government, and why Sensex is down and how the world markets are reacting as we speak.
Well, markets are reacting to a whole lot of developments that have taken place over the past 2 days, because yesterday the Indian markets were closed. Today, the Indian markets are opening to the global developments. The fact that Donald Trump has said that he'll be postponing the strike by 10 more days, plus the latest decision by the government to cut excise on fuel. So a lot of developments, despite which Nifty is down right now. Sensex and Nifty both are down 1.2%. Nifty down about 300 points as we speak, and Sensex about 1,000 points as we speak. I mean, overall, looking at the picture, day before yesterday, market had shown a bounce, 2 consecutive days of bounce, but on a monthly basis, we are still seeing the sharpest fall since COVID times. Markets are down about 9% since the war began. So yes, markets are still under pressure, and that's all to the uncertainty over the Iran conflict and the energy supply.
All right, Pranav, now, do you think that things will stabilize from now on? Because things, as Donald Trump says, that they are on the path to de-escalation. However, Iran has rejected those claims. But still, the strikes have reduced, the killings have reduced. So markets react on sentiments in this case. The market should have been up. What major reasons were for the downfall in this case? And how far do you think this will carry on? Will it improve? Situation will improve? Will market numbers change in a short while, in a half an hour or an hour or so?
Well, it is too early to predict, because there are two aspects to this entire conflict as we've been talking to, experts and analysts. One is, of course, the war, and the second is the energy prices. Now, even if the conflict or the military intervention as such has reduced drastically over the past about few days, what we're looking at is that the oil prices are still continuing to fluctuate. I mean, even as we speak, oil is currently at $93.48 a barrel, and Brent is at $107.17 a barrel. So that's still towards the higher side. It had, in fact, touched about $120 a barrel, lowered, and then again bouncing back. So oil prices is primarily what the markets are reacting to, because oil, by virtue of being the input ingredient, it directly affects the margins of several companies. So we are looking at oil price playing up right now. The insurance costs in the Strait of Hormuz have shot up, as a result of which that cost of transferring the energy or transporting the energy is also getting passed on to India Inc. or the companies that use oil as an input material, oil or oil-related products as input material. So we are seeing those margins playing up, and that is why the markets are reacting more to the oil prices than to the real military action on the ground. As long as oil prices continue to fluctuate, we may see in the market.
Pranav, stay with us. So we have a guest with us. We have CAV Subramaniam with us for more details to put this into perspective. Thanks a lot, sir. Your first reaction on the excise duty prices being slashed when it comes to oil, whether petrol or diesel. How will market should have reacted differently? Don't you think so? There has been de-escalation little bit. The IRGC, however, rejects the claims by Trump, but the markets have reacted a bit differently compared to the what is happening in the West Asian conflict, sir.
Good morning to you, and good morning to Republic TV viewers. So I think market will react. Generally, I think the news has to go to the boardrooms. Boardrooms have to disseminate this information to the respective departments, and they will see what is the real benefit which will be flowing through the P&L of the respective companies. Typically, when you see in the companies which are all using the energy as one of the input factor, I would assume about anywhere between 6 to 9% will be the energy cost, whether be it is petrol, diesel, or electricity, which are all in a different forms of energy. So which need to be understood and put it in the respective buckets, and they will see. And slowly, I think you can take it from me, by end of day, the market will react in a positive way. Since actually, I think 1 week back, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman, she has announced that we are going to set up a 1 lakh crore emergency fund to manage this West Asia crisis. Okay, clearly, no, these reductions are coming from that fund, if if I am say so. Okay, so I think petrol has been dropped by 3 rupees per liter, and diesel has come significantly. It has come to zero now.
Yeah.
So only thing is these excise duty reductions immediately will be the savings in the hands of the oil marketing companies, and oil marketing companies on the other hand, they'll have to pass on the benefit to the ultimate consumers.
Yeah.
So that is what the expectations from all of us. I think the government, the Ministry of Finance will put the check and balances. Of course, the prices are gone up. The Brent and crude oil per barrel has gone up significantly from $70 per barrel on an average. Now it is close to $100 per barrel. It went up to 120 and it came down to $100 per barrel.
Yeah.
So some losses will be absorbed by the oil marketing companies through this reduction announced by the government, and something definitely has to be passed on to the public.
Yeah, definitely. There was Naira that had already increased the prices. Sir, stay with us. Mr. Subramaniam, stay with us. Pranav is also with us. But let's have a quick check on how the rupee is reacting with what's happening in the West Asian conflict and the oil prices. Now, rupee has reacted. Rupee hits a record low of 94.15 against the US dollar. For the first time, the Indian rupee has hit an all-time low of 94.15 per US dollar, marking a historic depreciation and signaling a strong global domestic pressure on the currency, hammered by worries that the energy supply crisis sparked by the Middle East war will drag on, deepening the pressure on energy importing economies. We have Pranav also with us and Mr. Subramaniam also with us. But first, Pranav, I would like to come to you for an initial reaction, and you can ask a question to our esteemed guest also on why rupee is reacting such in a way, whether, though there's already a cushion that has been provided to the oil marketing companies, should we wait and watch for things to stabilize in this case?
Well, in fact, just to give an update to our viewers, the Indian rupee has in fact hit all 4.29. In fact, it fell about 33 paise today in the opening spread. Yesterday, it had closed about 3.96 against the dollar. That was on Wednesday when the session was opened. We are seeing geopolitical pressures playing on the rupee more than the rupee beginning. What we are seeing is, in fact, the dollar beginning as countries rush to hold dollar in order to buy oil. As oil prices go up, more and more dollars required on internet for the reason that's what we're seeing playing up right now. My question to Mr. Subramaniam will be: how is this whole entire equation of one is falling, second oil prices going up, and now the government deciding to cut the excise prices at the risk of taking hit one on fiscal deficit and likely GDP? How will this impact India's GDP in the coming future, sir?
Mr. Subramaniam. Yeah.
I think one by one. Yeah. See, in terms of dollar appreciation against rupees, we should not say that no, rupee has depreciated, though both are right. The problem is the demand for dollar is across the globe now, and there is a need for the other countries also to secure their assets in terms of they also want to have a resource for their crude oil and for the production of petrol and diesel, as well as to protect their boundaries. They'll also to buy the defense equipments. They'll have to buy whatever the import and exports, whatever they are doing. So they need to secure their forex reserves. So to that extent, they will be buying the dollars. I think you know that gold is only the secured assets, what everybody is seeing now. So the gold is procured by many of the governments across the world in the last 1 year in a significant way. Okay, you know that China has procured dollars, the forex reserves by paying dollars. India is sitting on the $720 billion reserves. We also procured about, I think as of now, our gold stock is about 800 tons. To be precise, maybe 830 tons. Okay, which means everybody want to secure their country and secure their reserves in terms of dollars, which is not fluctuating like, unlike dollar or other currencies. So they want to secure that. Because of that, the dollar is in demand. When dollar is in demand, okay, China wants to buy, the China currency will be depreciated. If South Africa wants to buy, South African currency will be depreciated. So here, I think the demand for dollar is there everywhere. So I want to pitch in for dollars. which means there is a lesser quantity of dollar is available and more supply is required by the, the buyers. So that's why the price and supply demand correlation is going up. That is why the dollar is going up. I think maybe we should not be panic. We should wait for about a couple of weeks. When the demand for dollar is coming down, I think the rupee will be strengthened against dollar. That is one. Second is the crude oil price. Definitely, I think everybody was expecting that it will go to $120 per barrel and to $140 per barrel. I think some strategic steps have been taken by in the Strait of Hormuz, so that some vessels are being allowed so that they can cross the border. So because of that, we are able to see the petrol price, the crude oil price in the range of $100 per barrel. But slowly, I think the East Asian countries or West Asia countries, they have to come into some forum so that the crisis between the US, Israel, Iran can continue. We don't know because we are not the mediators, or we don't have any hands on that. But the bare minimum emergency products should be allowed to sail through, because 20 to 25% of the imports or exports are going through the Strait of Hormuz, and it is directly impacting the insurance cost also. Ships are not willing to sail there, so it directly goes and hits your inflation. The price will go up. Okay, I think if you see the world citizen, everybody has to contribute to minimize the damage. But in the meanwhile, I think those three countries have to begin the peace talk and bring the situation under control.
All right, sir. Thanks a lot for your expert analysis and your insight on what's unfolding in the West Asian conflict and its reaction and its impact on the Indian rupee and the oil prices. Thanks a lot. So there's a relief. There's a relief for oil firms, for the OMCs. Now you have the graphics on your screen, but the rupee has also reacted, depreciated. It's on a lower note, and this is the relief for the OMCs, the oil marketing companies. The excise duty has been reduced when it comes to diesel to 10. It was earlier 10 per litre. Now it's 0, and same it goes for the oil prices also, for the oil excise duty. But now this won't be passed to the oil prices for the consumers, but definitely it will be a cushion, because as you saw, there is a company that's called Naira, which has increased the prices. All right, viewers, now let's move on to another top story. India gets a major energy lifeline as LPG carrier Pine Gas nears the coast after a high-risk Hormuz transit, escorted by the Indian Navy. Watch this report for more information.
Indian-flagged LPG carrier Pine Gas is now approaching India's west coast, carrying around 43,000 metric tons of cooking gas. The vessel, with 27 Indian crew on board, safely crossed the Strait of Hormuz amid rising tensions and is expected to dock at the new Mangalore port by March 27th. Sailing alongside was Jug Vasant, carrying another 47,600 metric tons of LPG with 33 Indian crew members on board. Together, both ships bring over 92,000 metric tons of LPG, a crucial boost for India's domestic supply. Both vessels were escorted by the Indian Navy through the volatile Hormuz route, ensuring safe passage. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the world's most critical oil routes, handling nearly 20% of global energy trade, and recent threats and instability in the region had sparked fears of supply disruption. But with coordinated naval protection and diplomatic efforts, India has managed to secure key fuel supplies with no immediate shortage expected.
All right, viewers, now let's move on to another top story. India's ceramic capital, Morbi in Gujarat, has come to a near standstill, with most factories shut for almost a month. A sharp gas supply crunch, now triggered by disruptions linked to the Iran conflict, has forced over 400 units to halt production. Morbi, which contributes nearly 80% of India's ceramic output, is now facing one of its worst slowdowns in years, now impacting not just manufacturers, but the entire supply chain. More in this report.
Most factories in Morbi, India's ceramics hub in Gujarat, have shut down for nearly a month due to gas shortages triggered by the Iran war. Morbi produces about 80% of India's ceramics, mainly tiles and sanitary ware, and exports to the Middle East, Africa and Europe.
If we talk about Gujarat's Morbi ceramic industry, which is second largest in entire world, has kind of come to a standstill and hit the pause button. If we talk about this industry, the cluster has more than 600 units and each unit has an investment of around about 15 crores to 150 crore. This industry is currently not functional for 1 month. Association had declared this in mid-March and it could go on till April.
Manufacturers say they halted operations after supplies of propane and natural gas, key fuels for ceramics production, were squeezed. India's ceramics industry is estimated to be worth about 70,000 crore rupees, with Morbi at its core. Over 400 factories shut, nearly 90% of units offline.
आधी फैक्ट्रियाँ तो नहीं, लेकिन 400 फैक्ट्रियाँ जो है करीबन वो बंद है। वो गैस की अनिश्चितता के कारण, गैस सप्लाई में जो डिस्टर्बेंस हुआ था, उसकी वजह से हम लोगों ने तय किया कि हम लोग जो है अपनी फैक्ट्री 20 दिन या तो 25 दिन के लिए शटडाउन स्वैच्छिक करके आगे जब गैस सप्लाई जब स्टेबल होगी उसके बाद हम लोग प्लान चालू करेंगे। गवर्नमेंट से भी हमारी बात चल रही है, तो गवर्नमेंट का मानना भी यही है कि गैस जो सप्लाई है वो 10 से 15 अप्रैल तक तो फुल फ्लैश हो जाएगी। उसके बाद अभी हमारी जो डिमांड है वो करीब 60 लाख क्यूबिक मीटर के आसपास है। उसके पास अवेलेबल है 30 लाख क्यूबिक मीटर, लेकिन वो 15 अगर हम डिमांड रखते हैं उसके पास तो 15 तारीख से हमको गैस देने के लिए रेडी है।
From packaging units, transporters, raw material suppliers, the shutdown is choking the entire ecosystem. Industry leaders say this is a rare and unprecedented crisis, one they haven't seen in years.
मोरबी का अंदर एक महीने के अंदर मिनिमम 500 से 700 करोड़ का डायरेक्टली इंडस्ट्रीज के ऊपर लॉस है, और साथों साथ जो भी गुजरात गैस लो, पावर सप्लाई लो, इतना पावर कंजप्शन यहाँ पे मोरबी में हो रहा है, तो पीजीवीएससीएल को भी लॉस होगा। और जितने सोलर प्लांट गुजरात में लगे हैं वो सोलर प्लांट का भी पावर यूज होने वाला नहीं है, तो वो भी सोलर प्लांट को भी शट डाउन करना पड़ेगा। लेकिन अगर एक महीने के अंदर मतलब अगर 15 अप्रैल तक ये इंडस्ट्रीज को गैस नहीं मिला तो काफ़ी बड़ा नुकसान इंडस्ट्रीज को भी हो सकता है। साथों साथ जो भी हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं अलग अलग इंडस्ट्रीज जो हमारे सप्लायर है उसको भी इफेक्ट होगा, और हमारे जो वर्कर है उसको भी इफेक्ट होगा।
The shutdown is expected to last till mid-April.
हमारा प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी पर डे का 7,000 to 10,000 स्क्वायर मीटर का प्रोडक्शन हमारा पर डे का है। वैसे यहाँ पर काफ़ी फैक्ट्रियाँ हैं, बट हर एक फैक्ट्री का प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटीज प्लस और माइनस रहता है। रफली आइडिया मैडम ऐसे कैलकुलेट करना बहुत मुश्किल है, वैसे तो नुकसान काफ़ी है, बट होपफुली नेक्स्ट मंथ में अप्रैल में, मिडल ऑफ अप्रैल में हमारा रीओपन होने का भी काफ़ी अच्छा एक स्कोप हमें दिख रहा है कि थोड़ा सा ब्रेक हुआ है तो अच्छा मार्केट फ्लो मिल सकता है।
For now, Morbi waits for gas, for relief, for revival.
All right, viewers, now let's move on to another top story. Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu announced the elimination of IRGC Navy commander, that is Eli Reza Tangsiri, in a precise IDF strike, highlighting his role in blocking the Strait of Hormuz and terrorist operations. Now, Defense Minister Israel Katz detailed the operation that neutralized Tangsiri and top naval officials, all of which leads to the question, who is Tangsiri? A key figure in Iran's asymmetric warfare, Tangsiri led fast boat swarms and anti-Western tactics in the Persian Gulf. Let's listen in to know more.
אנחנו ממשיכים לתקוף בעוצמה את המטרות של משטר הטרור האיראני. אמש חיסלנו את מפקד חיל הים של משמרות המהפכה. לאיש הזה יש הרבה דם על הידיים, ובנוסף הוא זה שהוביל את סגירת מצרי הורמוז. זוהי עוד אחת מהדוגמאות של שיתוף הפעולה בינינו לבין ידידינו ארצות הברית במטרה משותפת להשיג את מטרות המלחמה.
הלילה שכיר צה"ל בפעולה מדויקת וקטלנית את מפקד חיל הים של משמרות המהפכה, טנק עשירי, יחד עם בכירי פיקוד חיל הים. האיש היה אחראי הישיר על פעולת הטרור של מיקוש וחסימת מצרי הורמוז לשיט, פוצץ וסוכל.
All right, viewers, it's time to slip into a short commercial break, but don't go anywhere because coming up next, in a major relief to Indian oil firms, the centre significantly reduces excise duty on petrol and diesel to help OMCs lower their under-recoveries. And also, Indian LPG vessel Jagwasant docks at Kandla port carrying over 42,000 metric tons of LPG. Coming up next, don't go anywhere.
Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
अरे टेंशन किस बात की? सेंचुरी प्रोबूट का प्रीमियम प्लस है ना, लो एमिशन है, हाई डेंसिटी है, वाटर रेजिस्टेंट भी, टर्माइट एंड बोरो रेजिस्टेंट भी है। यानी ये है जहाँ नो टेंशन वहाँ।
प्रीमियम प्लस बाय सेंचुरी प्रोबूट। चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा सिंह MDH का जलजीरा जीरा सिंह।
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा मसाला।
Powered by Century Ply Club Prime। रहो बेफिक्र।
हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, ये संकट अलग प्रकार का है और इसके समाधान भी अलग प्रकार से ही तय किए जा रहे हैं। हमें धीरज के साथ, संयम के साथ, शांत मन से हर चुनौती का मुकाबला करना है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि इस युद्ध को लेकर पल पल में हालात बदल रहे हैं, इसलिए मैं देशवासियों से भी कहूंगा कि हमें हर चुनौती के लिए तैयार रहना ही होगा। इस युद्ध के दुष्प्रभाव लंबे समय तक रहने की प्रबल आशंका है, लेकिन मैं देशवासियों को भरोसा देता हूं, सरकार सतर्क है, तत्पर है और पूरी गंभीरता से।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello viewers, a very good morning. We are live and we are breaking. I'm Shivangi Shukla getting you the latest coming in and we'll of course get you all the latest on the war against Iran. It's day 28, almost a month now, and President Trump has made some statements saying that there will be a pause which has been extended when it comes to striking Iranian energy plants. So we're getting all these updates from the war. We'll get you all that you need to know, but the headlines first. Let's get started. The top headlines we're tracking right now. Indian LPG vessel Jug Vasant docks at the Kandla port carrying over 42,000 metric tons of LPG. Pine gas carrying 45,000 metric tons of LPG expected to arrive at New Mangalore Airport today. Manipur census postponed due to public pressure for the NRC. Prime Minister Modi to hold virtual meeting with Chief Minister on West Asia crisis today. After Trump extends pause on striking Iran's energy plants by 10 days, Iran says it did not request any pause on strikes targeting its energy infrastructure.
And they'll tell you we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal.
Trump claims Iran is desperate to make a deal with the US to end the war, a day after Tehran rejected his 15-point peace plan.
I'm so disappointed in NATO because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to. But they have an expression, a great expression, never forget. Can never forget.
And Trump says he's disappointed NATO did not cooperate with military operations in Iran. We're getting some breaking news coming in, viewers, right now. There's a big statement coming in from the Union Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, and she has said that because of the West Asia situation, there has been a big change in terms of the central excise duty on petrol and diesel for domestic consumption, which has been reduced by 10 rupees per litre each. This will provide protection to consumers from rising prices. She also says that Prime Minister Modi has always ensured that citizens are protected from the vagaries of supply and cost of essential goods. Further duties have been imposed on exports of diesel at 21.5 rupees per litre and on ATF at 29.5 rupees per litre. This will ensure adequate availability of these products for domestic consumption. The Parliament has been notified on the same. So big updates coming in here on terms of what we can expect next. Announcement has been made. Amid fears of fuel price spike due to the US-Israel war in Iran, the government has slashed excise duties for petrol and diesel by rupees 10 per litre each, bringing them down to rupees 3 per litre of petrol and 0 for a litre of diesel. Getting some more breaking news coming in. A Union Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas takes to social media and claims international crude prices have gone through the roof in the last 1 month, from around $70 per barrel to around $122 per barrel. Consequently, petrol and diesel prices for consumers has gone up all over the world. He goes on to say that Modi government has two choices: either increase prices drastically for citizens of Bharat, as all other nations have done, or bear the brunt on its finances so that Indian citizen is insulated from international volatility. He lauded Prime Minister's decision to take a hit on its own finances again to safeguard the Indian citizen, in keeping with his government's commitment of last 4 years since the conflict in Russia-Ukraine started. He also expressed his gratitude to the Prime Minister, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman for having taken a huge hit on its taxation revenues to ensure very high losses of oil companies at this time of sky-high international prices. And at the same time, export tax has been levied as international prices of petrol and diesel have skyrocketed, and any refinery exporting to foreign nations will have to pay more export fees. So this is a huge update which we're getting for our viewers in terms of the energy crisis. We're getting some more breaking news coming in. Let's go ahead to the next set of breaking news. As a relief for oil marketing companies, Centre has reduced excise duty on petrol from 13 to 3 rupees per litre, and for diesel from 10 to 0. No change in retail prices of petrol or diesel. Special excise cut to help OMCs lower their under recoveries. So back-to-back updates coming in here. The government has already slashed excise duties for petrol and diesel by rupees 10 per litre each, bringing their centre-imposed taxes down to rupees 3 per litre of petrol and making it 0 for diesel. All right, we also have getting many reactions coming in. My colleague has spoken to the Jammu and Kashmir Deputy CM on the slash in excise duty for fuel amid the global energy prices. So as we see a big development coming in and the measures which have been taken by the government, many reactions pouring in here. Let's take a look at that.
जो है जो एडिशनल एक्साइज ड्यूटी लगती थी पेट्रोल और डीजल पे, उसको 10-10 रुपए कम किया है। किस तरह से देखते हैं केंद्र सरकार?
क्योंकि जो हालात हैं दुनिया में बने हुए, उसका असर भारत पे भी पड़ता है, और इसलिए सबसे बड़ी बात है कि जब तक बाहर दुनिया में हालात ठीक नहीं होंगे, तब तक जहाँ तक है हिंदुस्तान के हालातों में भी असर पड़ता है, यहाँ महंगाई पे भी असर पड़ता है। आप देखें लोगों में आज एक ऐसा भी है कि एक तो आप लोगों के चैनल के माध्यम से मैं सोशल मीडिया के लोगों को अपील करना चाहूँगा कि आप र्यूमर मत फैलाइए। र्यूमर से पैनिक होता है। जैसे आप देखें पेट्रोल पंपों के बाहर लड़ाइयाँ होनी शुरू हो गई हैं, जहाँ लोग इतना रश पड़ना शुरू हो गया है, सिलेंडर जो है गैस सिलेंडर जो है उसके लिए रश पड़ना शुरू हो गया है, धक्का मुक्की शुरू हो गई है। तो लोगों को हमें आप लोगों के, क्योंकि आप लोग जिम्मेवार चैनल्स हैं, मैं आप लोगों के माध्यम से लोगों से अपील करूँगा कि पैनिक मत होइए, और सरकार पूरा हालातों पे नज़र रखे हुआ है, और जो भी एसेंशियल चीज़ें हैं उनकी जो ज़रूरत लोगों को है उस पर कोई कमी नहीं आने देगी। जब कमी की कोई बात आएगी सरकार खुद आके मीडिया में बात करेगी, लेकिन एज इट इज़ अभी कोई ऐसे हालात नहीं कि आप पैनिक होएं या आपको पेट्रोल पंपों के ऊपर या गैस एजेंसी जो है सिलेंडर लेने के लिए आपको इतना दौड़ना पड़े और इतना स्टॉक, क्योंकि स्टॉक करना भी अच्छा नहीं, क्योंकि कई लोग जेन्युइन हैं जिनको ज़रूरत है फिर उनको नहीं मिलता है।
सरकार जो है जो एडिशनल एक्साइज ड्यूटी लगती थी पेट्रोल और डीजल पे, उसको 10-10 रुपए कम किया है। किस तरह से देखते हैं केंद्र सरकार? क्योंकि
जो हालात हैं दुनिया में बने हुए, उसका असर भारत पे भी पड़ता है, और इसलिए सबसे बड़ी बात है कि जब तक बाहर दुनिया में हालात ठीक नहीं होंगे, तब तक जहाँ तक है हिंदुस्तान के हालातों में भी असर पड़ता है, यहाँ महंगाई पे भी असर पड़ता है। आप देखें लोगों में आज एक ऐसा भी है कि एक तो आप लोगों के चैनल के माध्यम से मैं सोशल मीडिया के लोगों को अपील करना चाहूँगा कि आप र्यूमर मत फैलाइए। र्यूमर से पैनिक होता है। जैसे आप देखें पेट्रोल पंपों के बाहर लड़ाइयाँ होनी शुरू हो गई हैं, जहाँ लोग इतना रश पड़ना शुरू हो गया है, सिलेंडर जो है गैस सिलेंडर जो है उसके लिए रश पड़ना शुरू हो गया है, धक्का मुक्की शुरू हो गई है। तो लोगों को हमें आप लोगों के, क्योंकि आप लोग जिम्मेवार चैनल चैनल्स हैं, मैं आप लोगों के माध्यम से लोगों से अपील करूंगा कि पैनिक मत होइए और सरकार पूरा हालातों पे नज़र रखे हुआ है और जो भी एसेंशियल चीज़ें हैं उनकी जो ज़रूरत लोगों को है उस पर कोई कमी नहीं आने देगी। जब कमी की कोई बात आएगी सरकार खुद आके मीडिया में बात करेगी, लेकिन एज इट इज़ अभी कोई ऐसे हालात नहीं कि आप पैनिक होएं या आपको पेट्रोल पंपों के ऊपर या गैस एजेंसी जो है सिलेंडर लेने के लिए आपको इतना दौड़ना पड़े और इतना स्टॉक, क्योंकि स्टॉक करना भी अच्छा नहीं, क्योंकि कई लोग जेन्युइन हैं जिनको ज़रूरत है फिर उनको नहीं मिलता है।
So many reactions coming in there. We just heard many reactions coming all across after the excise duty on petrol and diesel has been cut massively. Now, rising fuel prices and supply concerns are beginning to hit consumers on the ground, with private players already passing on the burden. While companies cite global crude trends and disruptions, for the common man, it's turning into a daily struggle at the pump. And you know, there's a lot of uncertainty, viewers, which is looming, especially when household budgets could be expected to grow bigger in the next few days due to the energy crisis, which the entire world is facing. Take a look at this report as we keep getting you the latest.
Fuel shock on the streets. Private refiner Naira Energy hikes petrol and diesel prices, pinching customers. Naira Energy has raised petrol prices by 5 rupees per litre and diesel by 3 rupees, pushing petrol beyond the rupees 100 mark.
अभी तक 94 रुपये 64 पैसे था और आज 99 रुपये 64 पैसे हो गया।
5 रुपये 30 पैसे बढ़े।
5 रुपये केवल।
क्या लग रहा है कुछ असर सेल पे देखने को मिला इसका?
सेल तो सर बड़ी ही है।
In some outlets, restrictions have kicked in. Only 10 litres per vehicle, as supply concerns grow amid refinery maintenance and global disruptions.
पब्लिक के लिए बिल्कुल परेशानी की बात है। बाइक वाले आ रहे, स्कूटी अपनी लेकर के आ रहे तो तेल मिल नहीं रहा है, कार लेकर के आ रहे तो तेल मिल रहा है, उसमें भी कंडीशन लग रही है कि 10 लीटर ही देंगे या 12 लीटर ही देंगे। हमें कहीं बाहर जाना होगा, कैसे उसका अरेंज होगा?
फ्यूल के क्राइसिस भी हो रहे हैं।
बिल्कुल हो रहा है, फ्यूल के क्राइसिस बिल्कुल हो रहा है और उस पर जो कि नहीं होना चाहिए। मान लीजिए किसी को बाहर जाना, किसी घर पे कोई समस्या है, आदमी कैसे जाएगा? अगर ये सारी चीज़ें तो पहले से अरेंज करनी चाहिए। पहले से आप एक बार पब्लिक को इंडिकेट करेंगे कि हाँ 10 दिन 15 दिन बाद ये समस्याएं आएंगी तो पब्लिक उस हिसाब से प्रिपेयर होगी ना।
Behind the hike, soaring global crude prices and disruptions in supply routes.
ये रेट में 12 बजे के बाद का है।
12 बजे के बाद।
हाँ।
कितने रुपए बढ़ाए गए?
5 रुपये।
और डीजल में?
3 रुपये।
क्या उसके बाद से यहाँ पर भीड़ है या सन्नाटा?
नहीं, भीड़ लगी रहती है। हाँ।
क्या फ्यूल कम आ रहा है पीछे से, ऐसा है?
हाँ, फ्यूल कम तो आ ही रहा है। हाँ।
आगे के हालात और खराब हो सकते हैं?
अभी भी हम तो
हाँ 30 लीटर का है। हाँ 30 लीटर पेट्रोल है और 160 लीटर डीजल।
इसके ऊपर नहीं दे सकते?
नहीं, उसके ऊपर।
While Naira assures no major supply disruption, the reality on the ground tells a more tense story. Shortages, caps and rising frustration.
बिल्कुल अपने प्रधानमंत्री के देखते हो, जो उनके जो है नियम होंगे वो हम पे सब पे जो है अप्लाई होंगे और हम मानेंगे।
With global tension pushing oil above $100 a barrel, the pressure is mounting and customers are paying the price.
तो मौजूद है कानपुर में, आपको अगर दिखाएं तो 5 रुपये 30 पैसे जो तकरीबन रेट है वो पेट्रोल का बढ़ाया गया है। इसके साथ ही आज सुबह से ये जो रेट है वो इम्प्लीमेंट कर दिए गए हैं। भारत की जो प्राइवेट एनर्जी कंपनी है नायरा, उसने ये रेट बढ़ाए हैं।
As fuel prices rise and supplies tighten, the burden is clearly shifting to the common man. The big question, how long can this last?
So we're getting these updates coming in. A lot of concern about the prices which are rising. Republic spoke to Gursimran, my colleague, spoke to the Deputy CM of Jammu and Kashmir on the slash and excise duty on fuel and petrol amid the global energy crisis. We listened to that earlier. Let's once again play out that very important reaction where the Deputy CM is saying there's no need to panic and please do not believe rumors on social media. Listen in.
देश की कोई भी कंट्री नहीं चाहेगी कि जंग जारी रहे, लड़ाई जारी रहे। इसलिए हम चाहते हैं कि जंग खत्म हो, लड़ाई खत्म हो। तो बाकी क्योंकि ये तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने मीटिंग बुलाई है और सिर्फ वही है कि सारे जितने भी ऑनरेबल चीफ मिनिस्टर साहब हैं उनको कॉन्फ्रेंस में लिया जाए और उनसे भी राय मशवरा लिया जाए, क्योंकि एक हालात तो हैं, वो आप लोग भी समझ रहे हैं, हालात तो हैं कि कोई ऐसा पैनिक ना हो जाए जिससे ऐसा कोई लोगों में ना हो जाए कि हड़बड़ी मच जाए। तो क्योंकि लोगों में बड़ा बड़ा कुछ कहने को मिलता है वो सोशल मीडिया में रोज, तो वो उससे लोगों में कहीं ना कहीं पैनिक होता है। तो इसलिए ये मीटिंग अच्छा स्टेप है ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब का और उम्मीद करते हैं इसका अच्छा रिजल्ट निकलेगा।
सर, ट्रम्प साहब ने कहा है कि 10 दिन और दिए हैं ईरान को कि आप बात कीजिए, नहीं तो फिर जो है उनके पावर प्लांट्स को हिट किया जाएगा।
अब ट्रम्प साहब क्या कहते हैं क्या नहीं कहते, मैं उनका स्पोक्समैन नहीं हूं, लेकिन है कि वो कभी 5 दिन कहते हैं, कभी 10 दिन कहते हैं। अब ये ट्रम्प साहब से ही पूछना, मुझे लगता है आपको जाना ही है, ट्रम्प साहब से बात करनी चाहिए।
सर, ट्रम्प साहब ने कहा है कि 10 दिन और दिए हैं ईरान को कि आप बात कीजिए, नहीं तो फिर जो है उनके पावर प्लांट्स को हिट किया जाएगा।
अब ट्रम्प साहब क्या कहते हैं क्या नहीं कहते, मैं उनका स्पोक्समैन नहीं हूं, लेकिन है कि वो कभी 5 दिन कहते हैं, कभी 10 दिन कहते हैं। अब ये ट्रम्प साहब से ही पूछना, मुझे लगता है आपको जाना ही है, ट्रम्प साहब से बात करनी चाहिए।
Okay, we're getting these reactions which are coming in. Just telling our viewers about the big update which is coming from the government. Amid fears of fuel price spike due to the US-Israel war in Iran, the government has slashed excise duties for petrol and diesel by ₹10 per litre each, bringing them down to ₹3 per litre on petrol and $0 for a litre of diesel. So this is a huge update that has come in amongst the global energy situation which is unfolding. The government has slashed excise duties for petrol and diesel by ₹10 per litre each, bringing the centre-imposed taxes down to ₹3 per litre, and petrol making it $0 for diesel. Industry is right now in a bit of a churn because of the global energy crisis. And Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri says international crude prices have gone through the roof in the last month, from around $70 per barrel to around $122 per barrel. Consequently, petrol and diesel prices for consumers have gone up all over the world. Prices have increased by around 30 to 50% in Southeast Asian countries, 30% in North American countries, 20% in Europe, and 50% in African countries. This is a statement. It's a very long post that Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has posted, specifically talking about the global energy prices and how it has affected oil prices all over the world. And he also went on to say the Modi government had two choices: either increase prices drastically for citizens of Bharat, as all other nations have done, or bear the brunt of it on its finances so that Indian citizens are insulated from international volatility. So in keeping with the commitment of last 4 years, since the conflict in Russia-Ukraine started, the government had decided to take a hit on its own finances again to safeguard the Indian citizen. So this is what we see right now, viewers, a big update coming in. The US-Israel war on Iran and Tehran's consequent Hormuz blockade has severely affected and disrupted the oil and gas export from the wider West Asia region. We're being joined by Mr. P.K. Basu, economist, joining us live from Delhi. Thank you for joining us here, Mr. Basu. Very, very good morning to you. Now, we know that it's a big relief coming in for oil firms. And we just heard that reaction, which I read out, of the Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri, saying that Prime Minister Modi chose that the government should bear the brunt on its finances so that the Indian citizens are insulated. So this is the move that the Indian government has made amidst the global energy crisis. Your first reaction on this?
Well, India has the remarkable option of using excise duties as a way to keep petroleum product prices relatively stable. So you'll notice that when oil prices decline a lot, typically the excise duty goes up. And when oil prices rise a lot, excise duties come down. In fact, in one case, they're being eliminated for now. This option exists because of India's relatively strong fiscal position and the relatively strong macroeconomic backdrop. So, of course, there'll be a slight fiscal hit at the start of the next fiscal year, but India goes into the next fiscal year on a strong wicket, with strong overall revenues, having ensured that the fiscal deficit is likely to be slightly lower in the current fiscal year than was projected in the budget at the beginning of February. So that provides room for maneuver, and it'll, of course, be a huge relief to users of petrol and diesel. But, of course, it is intended to be a temporary measure. if the war persists for rather long, if it persists for another month or two, then the impact could be quite severe on the global economy and on India as well. So the idea is that while things are rather hot on the global war front, on the West Asia war, it is important to provide relief to consumers of petrol and diesel, and if things stabilize, then excise duties can be gradually moved back up to where they were previously.
Right. Okay, like we were discussing, if you could just give our viewers a little bit of more perspective about the real purpose of this excise duty which has been cut. So the government wants that even when the prices are going up, the consumers here back home should not suffer because of the higher prices. But how do you really relate the global oil prices and what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz to the Indian market when we talk about the energy market here? If you could just put that in perspective for us. So even if the oil prices go higher worldwide, what kind of effect will the Indian market face in the future?
Well, you see, between a quarter and a third of all petroleum products pass through the Straits of Hormuz. So it's a very important choke point in the global oil industry. With the Straits of Hormuz being largely closed, with some sort of toll booth being imposed there by the Iranians, it's becoming quite difficult for oil prices. They have risen quite sharply between the 28th of February and now, over the last 1 month. So it is important to provide relief. India has the option. As I pointed out, excise duties are actually a stabilizing measure, because when oil prices go down a lot, excise duties typically are raised. It is not a revenue-generating measure. The main purpose of that is to ensure that Indian consumers, in the long term, keep shifting away from fossil fuels to renewables. And this is important because India is a massive importer, big net importer of oil, particularly crude oil. We are now an exporter of refined product, but we still need the crude oil and gas. So we do need to get our consumers to move away from the dependence on fossil fuels. That's the long-term goal. But in the short term, when you have things like, when you have a global energy crisis emerging because of a war, then the option does exist to cut excise duties and provide relief. Oil prices will still go up, but the effective price at the pump will go up much less because excise duties have been cut. The landed price of crude oil and gas at India's ports will go up sharply, along with the global price. We cannot avoid that. But the government has the option of cutting excise duties to provide relief to the consumer at the point of at the retail point, which they've done, right. And they've done it fully. They've done it with a yes. massive move.
Mr. Basu, you mentioned the Indian consumer, and a lot of our viewers who are watching right now, especially the ones who are running a household, if you could just give them a little bit of a synopsis as to what they can expect next, realistically.
Well, realistically, for now, even the oil marketing companies are taking a little bit of the hit. They're not passing on all of the oil price increase. But now with the cut in the excise duties, the oil marketing companies will get some relief too. And at the point of sale, at the petrol pump, diesel and petrol prices can stay unchanged, broadly unchanged for now, because of the excise duty cut, and in some cases might even come down a little bit in the very short term. The idea, of course, is not to reduce prices, but to keep them stable. main goal of the excise duty cut is to ensure that oil prices stay stable relative to where they were a month ago. And that, I think, will be largely achieved with this excise duty cut.
Right. Also, I just want to bring out one more point, because we saw the petroleum minister in a long post on social media platform X said that the government will bear the financial brunt of the excise duty cut on petrol and diesel. So the Indian consumers do not feel that heat financially. Could you just go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit more about what the government meant by that statement?
Well, by cutting excise duties, the government is foregoing some revenue. Some of its tax revenue, the government is choosing to forego, which basically means that the fiscal deficit in the early part of the next fiscal year will be a little bit higher. So, note that petroleum products are excluded from GST.
Updates coming in, live pictures that were coming in for our viewers, and a lot of ruckus can be seen in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. So just getting out these pictures, we have to cut across these pictures which are coming in live. Ruckus in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, coming in the backdrop of the significant ruckus can be seen there. We'll try to, of course, go ahead to our reporters and find out exactly what is happening, but a lot of ruckus can be seen. Yes, let's go straight across to Gursimran. Gursimran, live pictures, ruckus at the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. Just help our viewers understand what really happened there, what is causing that ruckus.
See, it's all started with the NCMLA Tanveer Sadiq, the chief spokesperson of the National Conference, also coming out with a poster of Ayatollah Khamenei, in which he said that the entire NC and the government condemns the attack on Israel and the brutal murder of Ayatollah Khamenei, and also the miners that have been killed in the US attack. After that, when the assembly started, they came almost to the well, opposing the move of the United States and the Israel. There were slogans that were raised again, not only against Israel, but also US President Donald Trump and the United States of America for their aggression that they have shown in Israel. And there have been pro-Iran slogans that have also been raised inside the J&K Assembly. Counter to this, the BJP was raising the slogans for the establishment of the National Law University in the Jammu region. That has been a long-pending demand, and for the same demand, they have also called for a massive protest today in a short while from now, wherein they will be going to Gherav the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. A major showdown that the BJP has called against the National Conference. But now inside the Assembly, there is a massive ruckus that is going on, despite several reminders by the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly Speaker.
Abdul Rahim Rathar, that all the MLAs should stop and they should not resort to such conduct inside the Assembly, and there will be a separate time that will be given on the discussion on the said topic, that is the US and the Israel attacks on Iran. That will be discussed. But now what is happening, that as we speak, there is a massive ruckus that is going on inside the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, where all the MLAs from the National Conference, from the PDP, Congress Party, Independents, CPIM, all have gone almost to the well, raising the slogans, and they are saying that there needs to be an immediate discussion on the said issue, while the BJP, on the other hand, is taking up the issue of the National Law University, and that is why the ruckus is taking place inside the J&K Assembly. But the ruling dispensation seems to be in no mood to actually bow down to the instructions that are being passed by the chair. They said that they want the immediate discussion to take place, and they said that the government condemns this move of the US and the Israel to target the Iran.
Okay, Gursimran, stay on with us. Just putting on those pictures, huge ruckus inside Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, and these are live pictures coming in. This is The National Conference MLAs protest against Israel and America, US, in the Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly. I just want to go back to my colleague Gursimran. You know, Gursimran, related to the situation that is playing out in the Middle East, we have seen a lot of protests all across Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, you have reported on this yourself. So now we have seen that those protests have reached the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly.
Yes, the protests have reached Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, and now as we speak, the Assembly has been adjourned for 30 minutes by the Assembly Speaker. It is till 11 that the Assembly has been adjourned because the entire question hour has gone to the protests that have taken place inside the Assembly. We are told that there have been widespread protests also and ruckus between the two MLAs, that is between the Yudhvir Sethi of the BJP and the Congress MLA Irfan Hafiz Loan, because Irfan Hafiz Loan raised an objectionable slogan, that is when he said that the Prime Minister, slogan against the Prime Minister of the country, after which the BJP started raising the slogans of the PM Zindabad inside the Assembly, and there was a confrontation between the two MLAs. So this is how the things have transpired inside the J&K Assembly. But as we speak, there is the House has been adjourned by the Assembly Speaker for next 30 minutes. So now the House will meet at 11, and before that, the BJP has also called for the gherav of the J&K Assembly.
Right. Right. Okay. Gursimran is getting at these pictures which are coming in. So we can see a lot of ruckus in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. Those pictures are of the National Conference MLAs protesting against Israel and America in Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly. And like Gursimran is telling us, there has been a lot of protests all across Jammu and Kashmir over the situation that is unfolding in the West Asia escalation. Let's listen into that ruckus.
So viewers, National Conference MLAs here protesting against Israel and America in Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly. A huge ruckus in the Assembly in Jammu and Kashmir, where MLAs from National Conference in fact are protesting against actions of Israel and America against Iran, also holding posters of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, raising slogans, pro-Iran slogans and posters raised in the Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly. A huge ruckus. On the other side, BJP is also raising posters demanding a national law university in Jammu and Kashmir. So demands from both the sides, condemnation of the strikes taking place against Iran by US and Israel, NCMLAs protesting, raising slogans, pro-Iranian slogans, raising posters as well. So huge ruckus you can see as the MLAs protest in the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly against strikes by Israel and America. Now, Congress MLAs also approached towards well in support of Iran as well. Also, CPIM,